Hey, Run Through listeners, we have some news. First, we hope that you're loving our new podcast art designed by the Run Through's very own Ashley Wagner. And second, we've been totally blown away by all the messages and support from everyone who's been listening to the Lore series. It's been a labor of love to put together, but we can't even begin to explain how fun it is to see that so many people are enjoying it as much as we have enjoyed putting it together. We've also had a lot of people reach out asking if there's a way to support the show. So we've decided to launch a Patreon. Our episodes will still continue to be free and available wherever you listen to your podcasts. But if you've been enjoying the show and want to support what we're doing, you can now subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/therunthroughpodcast.
It is going to be $5 a month if you want to join. We would appreciate it so much. The three of us, but particularly Adam and Sarah, have put in so much time and energy putting together these lore episodes for all of us, myself included, to learn so much. And just think of it as like you're buying us a cup of coffee or a post-event drink once a month.
There's nothing extra on the Patreon yet. We have some ideas, but right now it's just a place to go if you want to show us a little love. We'll have that link in the episode description and in our Instagram bio. And without further ado, let's get right into the dance lore part 1.
Triple toe, double toe, and then a fall off the end of it, which was absolutely unnecessary and uncalled for. I'm not very much in favor of the counting of points. Does it work for you? No.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Run Through, where we talk about all the things that make us kiss and make us cry. Welcome to the very first episode of Dance Lore.
Dun, dun, dun.
Lore. Sarah.
Who needs a soundboard when you can just make your own echoes?
Exactly.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Ice Dance Lore. For this, I think everybody who listens to this podcast, and maybe you don't, knows that dance lore is among the most complicated of the disciplines. And so we felt like we really needed to bring in the special forces.
Yes. Some might even say it's the most interesting of the lore.
I would.
We also have people here who will be guiding us through the lore. Our lore guides.
Well, we really have one lore guide. We have invited two of our best friends who have worked in and around skating with us to be on this podcast with us because Ashley is traveling. And so our friend Michelle Ellis will be taking us through ice dance lore. I want to say Michelle is the reason that ice dance is my favorite discipline. She taught me everything that I know, so if you think I don't know a lot,
it's Michelle's fault.
It is Michelle's fault.
And we will be accepting those complaints.
Yes. And you can send those straight to Adam. And so, Michelle, welcome.
Thank you so much. I am completely having an out-of-body experience right now, being on a podcast for the first time in my life.
You are doing such a good job with one sentence in. So welcome to you. And playing the part of Ashley Wagner will be our dear friend Justine Newbarth. Justine, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. When I say something, this is what my voice will sound like.
It's really good to know because I am listening to it right now. So far, crystal clear.
Amazing. Thank you so much for the validation. I am playing the part of Ashley in that I will be coming in with little knowledge of what is about to unfold.
And we felt like we really needed that role filled. Mm-hmm. And so I'm so glad you're here. And let the record show that Justine is wearing a Stars on Ice t-shirt from
1996-97.
Yes. A treasured piece of clothing for me, found at a flea market in LA. And to be clear, I was a figure skating researcher, but my knowledge of 90s ice dance is pretty limited, and I can't wait for Michelle to sort of
her knowledge
take us
of
through.
90s Stars on Ice t-shirts is vast.
Unlimited.
Yeah, unmatched.
Unlimited. Now, I'm quite excited for this because growing up, I didn't follow a lot of ice dance, sadly. And incorrectly, I think. Michelle has been teasing a little bit of what's to come. And Michelle, I think without further ado, let's get right into it. I'm so excited of where you're going to start us and where we're going. And
So, I mean, when you talk about ice dance and you talk about the current teams competing, the current coaches in the sport right now, it really comes from a place of very vast and significant Russian influence. And so I want to take you back at the beginning to the 1970s. And then I want to skip through the 80s pretty quickly and then get to the 90s when things were very, very messy. Because I associate the word lore with a little bit of mess. And
Absolutely.
I feel like, you know, and I feel like this is also some of the most entertaining material. So I'm going to go back to the 1970s and start there. It's very wholesome, it's very positive, and it's very light background material.
And to be clear, ice dance first appeared at the Olympics in 1976, correct?
Correct. Started at Worlds in 1952, but it wasn't until 17 years later, 1969, that a Russian team actually made it onto the world podium.
Okay, so who were the key ice dancers in the early days?
well, so wait, they had to get an ice dance team on the podium because we got someone on the moon first. Was that the main
Yeah,
motivation?
in 1969, we went to the moon. They were like, okay, well, ice dance is what we're going to conquer next.
Get them out there.
Perhaps it was like British teams, Czech teams, and American teams.
Okay.
It's just like, you know, hard to
Foreshadowing.
believe. Yeah. So Russia was trying to like build an ice dance program, and they had in the late 60s, early 70s, they really had two schools going. They had Yelena Chekhovskaya's school, and they had Tatiana Tarasova's school.
Tatiana Tarasova, we've heard of. And everyone who is listening to the lore series should have heard of her by now because she shows up in the men's lore as well because she ultimately coaches all the disciplines.
Yes.
But
She's
this
gonna-
is her like origin.
But this is her, or this is the Tatiana Tarasova origin story.
This is her hatching out of an egg.
she's going to show up a lot.
Okay.
today. She's
As she
I
should,
can't wait.
finally.
yeah, in very dramatic last minute ways, as you will see. So Elena Chekhovskaya, she had like three teams that were really strong: Lyudmila Pakhomova and Alexander Gorshkov, Natalia Linichuk and Gennady Karponosov, and Marina Zoueva and Andrei Vitman.
Oh,
Marina
let's
Zoueva.
go. Marina Zoueva right off the bat.
So Zoueva and Vitman, they don't make it to an Olympics, but just remember the name Marina Zoueva because like 30 years from
You're
now,
going to need it.
You're going to need it. Tatiana Tarasova had like two really prominent teams, Irina Moiseeva and Andrei Minenkov, and Natalia Bestemianova and Andrei Bukin. The best of all these teams was Pakhomova and Gorshkov. And I can't like explain to you like how important they are in Russian ice dance and how they sort of created this legacy of Russian ice dance in their performance style, in their personal relationship, everything about them, their attitude to competing. It really set the standard for like what Russian ice dance was, what it became, and they really like sparked this movement in Russian skating where ice dance became like a big thing and ice dance became a Russian thing. So Pakhomova and Gorshkov, they won their first world title in 1970. They got married after that. Pakhomova like famously made Gorshkov wait till they won a world title to get married. They kept winning
Respectable.
worlds. Yeah.
That's so Utah feeling, doesn't it? Feel a little like that?
They won 1970 Worlds, 71, 72, 73, 74. They're just like slaying.
Dominating.
They're amazing. And in the Soviet Union, they were very famous. They were very well known. A Russian astronomer discovered like a minor planet at this time. They named the planet after Lyudmila Pakhomova.
Wow.
Oh.
Yeah. She was like a superstar. She was like the star of the team. She was very expressive and artistic, and she like brought like a lot of life to her performances. She was very accessible. Gorshkov was like a little bit, I don't want to say this is not very nice, but it's kind of like an usher. He was very stiff, formal, like a cavalier, sort of presented her. And they
Very stem and flower.
I was just going to say,
Totally.
yeah, like,
he was presenting her and he was not taking away from her, and he was complimenting her and presenting her.
Sure.
They were very talented, and they invented the tango romantica with their coach Yelena Chekhovskaya in 1970, which eventually became a compulsory dance. It's the last compulsory dance ever competed in Olympics. It was competed in Vancouver in 2010. So this is just kind of a sidebar because it's funny. Basically, they didn't defend their 1975 world title because after 1975 Europeans, Gorshkov fell ill. He had to have a lung operation. I don't know what was going on in the Soviet Union in the 70s, but basically he had to get a blood transfusion, and his coach, Elena Chekhovskaya, gave him her blood.
What?
Oh my God.
He recovered enough to go to Worlds. They fly to Worlds. Worlds are in Colorado Springs.
Okay, that's probably the last place you should go if you have on the edge blood.
Yeah.
Talk about chills
Yeah.
down your spine.
And so they go to their first practice, and he's not doing well. He just has trouble breathing. He's miserable. So they have to give him oxygen. The team withdraws. And again, like, I don't know what's happening in the 70s with like communication channels or whatnot, but basically in the Soviet Union, a rumor spreads that he's died and that he died on the flight to Colorado Springs and he's dead.
Okay, but it was a rumor?
Well, it spreads like it's news there. And the chairman of the Soviet Sports Committee, like not the Figure Skating Association, the Soviet Sports Committee.
Yeah, the overall, like
calls-
over all sports.
Yeah, calls him in Colorado Springs to verify whether he's dead or not. He is alive.
Okay.
So anyway,
What a relief.
the other team I mentioned, the Tarasova team, Moiseeva and Minenkov, they win Worlds. Soviet Union holds on to world title. So then the next year, 1976, is the very first Olympic ice dance event. It's the first time it's basically a test event. And so they're adding
They call
the
it a
sport.
demonstration event. Yeah, when
Yeah.
they're testing something out.
Yeah. And Pakhomova and Gorshkov, it's the Olympics are in Innsbruck. They have some of the best skates of their career, and the crowd freaking loves them. They are amazing. And they skate really well. Pakhomova said it was the easiest performance she ever skated because she had like no fear and it just felt so natural. They won, and it was such a big hit that ice dance was added to the Olympic program going forward. Every Winter Olympics thereafter, there was an ice dance event.
And we're all better for it.
Right.
Yes.
Well, so even though it was a demonstration event, they're still considered the first Olympic champions.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes. Then they go back to Worlds in 76, defend their world title, and then they retire. So after their competitive career, Pakhomova becomes a coach, and she's coaching a number of different students in Moscow. She starts developing some strange symptoms. She's not feeling so well in the late 70s into the 80s. She's eventually diagnosed with leukemia. She battles it for several years. She was reluctant to stop skating, even if she was really ill. She would always go on the ice. And she ultimately passes away in 1986 at age 39.
Oh my God.
No.
And her passing is devastating on the Soviet sports community. She's so beloved. She's so important in skating. It was profound. It was really devastating. And in Russian ice dance, it's like sort of the program is kind of modeled after Pakhomova and Gorshkov and their image and their style. And she was just so influential, and it was like really devastating, not just to the community, but also to her students who she had been coaching for several years. And just want to mention one of her students, she coached to the 1983 World Junior title, was an ice dancer named Igor Spielban.
A name we know well.
Oh my God.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And
Oh my God. I did
my
not know any of
God.
this.
What?
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we will like, just in case someone's listening who is not aware of why are we reacting this way.
Gasping at the name Igor Spielband.
Igor goes on to be one of the most famous coaches in American ice dance
Yes.
and still coaches some of the top teams out of Michigan to
Right.
this
Correct.
day. So, okay, sorry. Keep going. That's crazy. I
Right.
did not know that.
Yeah.
And also, when we said to kind of put a pin in the name Zoueva, just wait and see
Yeah,
why.
the lore on Zoueva and Spielband will come later.
Yes.
So Igor has spoken about like the profound impact that Pakhomova had on him as a skater and as a coach, and his decision to become a coach, and the impact she had on his life. Ultimately, Spielband ends up moving to the U.S. and becoming a coach, a very young coach. But his competitive career basically ends when she passes away. He sort of loses the interest in competing. And I want to read a quote where Pakhomova described her life and career. She said, "I spared neither time nor effort. I never sacrificed anything. I just did what I liked most of all."
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Yeah. And her husband, Alexander Gorshkov, he stayed very involved in the sport until his death in 2022. He was
Right.
on he was the chair of the ISU's Ice Dance Technical Committee, and he was the president of the Russian Figure Skating Federation for 12 years.
Right.
Until he passed away.
Right.
Yeah. Can't understate their their influence on Russian ice dance. And with them winning, when they won the Olympic title in 1976, second on the podium behind them was Moiseeva and Minenkov and the Tarasova team. And then an American team was actually third, Colleen O'Connor and Jim Millens. And they actually came up quite a bit during the heyday of Tanith Feldman and Ben Augusto, because they were the last ones to win an Olympic medal.
Okay.
And the only Americans to do it.
Oh, right. So people would have been talking about
Yes.
them like they could be the first one since 1976.
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. So from here, I want to skip forward and just touch on the next couple Olympics and the teams that dominated.
Okay.
So I mentioned Linichuk and Karponosov. They were another Chekhovskaya team that trained with Pakhomova and Gorshkov. They won in 1980 in Lake Placid. Natalia Linichuk competed. I think she had the flu. She was very ill. She had to be basically carried to the locker room by Gennady Karponosov.
This is very chalk and Bates at every nationals in the last
Yeah,
few years.
there's something in the
Yes.
water still.
Yes. But they won. They got their gold medal. And, winning an Olympic champion, like an Olympic title, is a really big deal. And they did that, and that's amazing. But they come to be known for their coaching. They go on, they get married after their Olympics, they retire, and they become ice dance coaches. They will come up again later. I also want to mention that Natalia Linichuk hosted a workout video in the Soviet Union. If you wonder what the Soviet Union's response was to Jane Fonda's career in the U.S., Natalia Linichuk stars in it.
Oh, wow.
It's on YouTube. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Okay, cut to me. I'm in the best shape of my life.
Yeah, you're doing Natalia Linichuk's video every day.
Yeah, she's known for her coaching. I'm like, yes, she is.
Yeah, she's
I lose
coaching
20
me to
pounds.
My
Yeah.
beach body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
fantastic.
incredible.
It's
Okay,
incredible.
amazing.
It's incredible. So after Linichuk and Karponosov retire in 1980, the next 4 years, the next Olympic cycle, is dominated by a British team you may have heard of, Jane Torvill and Christopher Dean.
Oh, I've heard of them.
I've heard of them,
Yeah.
yes.
And, this is probably one of the most famous ice dance teams in the whole world, maybe some of the most famous skaters in the world. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on them.
Well, I don't know. You know what? I know that you know this because I know you're an avid listener of the run through. Bolero is something of a popular song on this podcast.
a little
Ashley
bit.
likes to hum it to us.
Yeah.
And I know Bolero is a big part of the Torvill and Dean story.
Yes. So Torvill and Dean were known for their very innovative choreography. The one thing that was really unique about them was that Christopher Dean was an extremely expressive male skater. And I think the mold of these married Russian teams that were competing together, they had a very kind of background man. I hate using this word, but usher is what comes to mind. The cavalier presenting the woman. But with Christopher Dean, he was kind of very expressive and often leading the elements that they were doing. He was kind of like the star of the team in a certain way. He brought a lot of artistry to the forefront. And that was a very different look for skating. And that kind of came into play with Russian skaters later on. They won in 1984 with their just incredibly successful and very important performance to Bolero. And this program made them famous worldwide. It wasn't just within figure skating, within the Soviet Union. Torvill and Dean's Bolero broke through to people who don't even watch skating. It just became
It's still a
global
pop culture
Yeah.
moment. I mean, I think a lot of people, especially in the UK, because they have that
Yeah.
show that, what was it, Dancing on Ice?
Yeah.
Where
Yeah,
at the
they still
very end,
host that show.
Yes.
Jane and Christopher. Yeah.
but at the very end, every team that's in the finale needs to perform the Bolero.
Really?
They all do a version, their own version of Bolero.
Oh my God.
It's carried over into broadcast English television.
That's incredibly intimidating.
I just went to the LA Philharmonic just a couple days ago, and they did a Ravel program, and the finale was Bolero.
Of
And
course.
let me tell you, it rips.
It rips. It really did.
People were loving it.
I mean,
yes.
Bolero can be your worst nightmare
Yes.
or your greatest dream come true.
Yeah.
And in 84, dream come true.
yeah.
Because it was very innovative,
And
right?
it was incredibly innovative. They started on their knees facing each other and moving opposite each other. It was incredibly innovative. It was just, the team was known for very innovative choreography, and especially their transitional elements were very unique. They ended at the end where they were sprawled out on the ice like they died. And that became something that everyone imitated an ice dance to the point where it was just kind of like very frowned upon. Like, don't do this anymore. It's just not effective.
Stop dying.
Yeah, stop dying. But, they had this huge success in their amateur career. They retired after 1984, and they started working in the professional skating circuit, doing their own tours, doing their TV show, doing all kinds of stuff. And they are just global superstars. And they're also very respected in Russia for their innovation and their creativity. And one of the teams that they give a lot of credit to was Tarasova's team, Moiseeva and Minenkov. It's saying that they inspired them and they respected them a lot. There's a couple non-Russian teams that are very respected in Russia, regardless of the fact they're not Russian.
Okay.
Torvill and Dean are one of them. The other one would probably be Tessa Virtue and Scott Moyer. Also, after they retired, Christopher Dean got really involved with choreography. He worked with a lot of different teams. I'll bring him up again very soon. So on the 1984 Olympic podium, Torvill and Dean win. In second place are Bestemianova and Bukin. And then in third place is a team, Marina Klimova and Sergei Ponomarenko.
Okay. A connection to today.
Yes.
Yes.
A reverberation through the generations.
An echo through time.
So then after 84, when Torvill and Dean retire, the next quad leading into the 88 Olympics is really dominated by Bestemianova and Bukin. And Klimova and Ponomarenko are always like second to them. And these Russian teams at this point start being on like an escalator. Like you wait your turn, and then the person above you wins the Olympics, they retire, and then it's your turn, and you come up and win. So Bestemianova and Bukin, like I said, say their full names, Natalia Bestemianova and Andrei Bukin. They are coached by Tatiana Tarasova. They are very, very dynamic, like high drama team with a lot of theatrics and intensity. When you watch them, it's not balletic so much as it sort of like blows your hair back. Like it's just like, whoa. It's like a sound test in a theater. Like you just really feel it when they skate. I mean, I was even watching them on YouTube, like preparing for this, and I was just kind of like, whoa. Like it's just, you really, really feel it. And it was a very unique style, and like the drama was really there.
Which I feel like, I mean, Andre obviously has a son, Ivan, who now skates with Stepanova in Russia, and like I feel like they have quite a dramatic theatrical style.
Wait, I've never put that together.
Yeah, they're related. That's his father.
My God.
I would say not,
and they're pretty theatrical.
Not even close to his dad.
I believe you,
not
but
even close.
But I mean, for the modern day,
no, I would say Meryl and Charlie, like when they were doing like their very dramatic, like Phantom of the Opera programs where you're like, whoa, Meryl Davis and Charlie White.
Interesting.
I feel like that was the sort of Bestemianova Bukin feeling. Like it was just sort of like you felt like they were like reaching outside of the arena. Like you could really just very powerful and impactful skating.
Okay.
So they go to Calgary in 1988 and they win Olympic gold there pretty easily. They're skating to Polovtsian dances. They have some unbelievable 80s costuming on. I mean, Bestemianova's hair is like one solid piece, and it is...
Thank God.
Yeah.
Too many people have their hair as so many...
multiple pieces.
Yeah, fluid pieces.
And you really hate to see that.
Yeah.
It's a really incredible program to watch. It's worth watching just sort of for the like emotional experience of it. And Marina Klimova and Sergei Ponomarenko are second here. They win silver, so they move up a spot. And I want to mention here that Andrei Bukin and Sergei Ponomarenko are good friends. Despite the fact that they're competitors, they train with different coaches, they get along really well. They're pals.
Okay.
Friends. And Klimova and Ponomarenko, of course, are the parents of Anthony Ponomarenko, who's an American ice dancer, and Andrei Bukin, he is the father of Ivan Bukin. And before Russia was not competing anymore in international events, there were a couple times where you had Bukin and Ponomarenko on a podium together, and it was fun because it was
very cute.
You know, their dads were pals.
Oh, now I know
That's
why
very
it was
sweet.
fun.
Yeah.
Adam was never having fun before this.
I was like, well, everyone's having fun.
Yeah.
Oh, how did I not know that slipped through the cracks?
Yeah.
And unlike all of the other Russian teams I've mentioned, Bestemianova and Bukin were not married. He married someone else and had Ivan with her. But Natalia Bestemianova is still very active in figure skating. She likes to answer the phone and talk to journalists and respond to pretty much anything that happens. So if anything
by
happens
the
in ice
phone.
dance, she's going to be talking about it.
All right, feature guest on the
I
run through.
Russian media around skating is amazing in general, but Russian media around ice dance, it's so good. They have so
good.
many people just like waiting by the phone like that.
Yeah. So before we move on, I want to talk about the bronze medalists in Calgary. Tracy Wilson and Rob McCall
Ugh,
of Canada.
Yes.
Tracy.
Yes. And they are a team that was very in the vein of Torvill and Dean. They weren't one of these dramatic, romantic Russian teams. They were there was like a lightness and a perkiness and a just sort of effervescence to their skating. They were known for these like cool running steps, and they skated really well in Calgary and got on the podium. And they went to Worlds afterward and got on the podium there. And as we know, Tracy Wilson went on to have a very successful career in TV and is now a very successful coach of single skaters. And just remember Tracy, she's going to come up again shortly. She has a very prominent impact on ice dance in the 90s as a TV commentator.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
So now it is 1988. After the Olympics, Bestemianova and Bukin go to Worlds. They defend their world title. Klimova and Ponomarenko are second, and then Wilson and McCall are third.
Okay.
After that,
which that's the exact same podium as the Olympics,
exactly
right?
the
Okay.
same.
Okay.
So after that, Bestemianova, Bukin, and Wilson McCall retire. We get into 1989, the beginning of the next Olympic cycle.
Okay.
And this takes us into part one of the story I want to tell you. There are 4 parts. I will call.
I'm getting chills.
Me too.
I will call this first part from 1989 to 1994 the favoritism of Dubova.
Oh
Okay.
my
That
God.
sounds like an
Chapter 1.
Oscar-winning film.
I mean, it would be if they made
does.
it. It would be if they made it.
Wow. They just debuted at Cannes.
All right. So basically, heading into the 92 Olympics, there are 3 teams in the mix for the podium. The same 3 teams are on every world podium, 89, 90, 91, and the Olympic podium. 3 teams. And they just trade places. And
Okay.
no one else gets on the podium.
So they don't stay in the same order?
Correct.
Okay.
So 2 of these teams train with a coach named Natalia Dubova. And she has, in the 80s, been sort of growing this stable as in like stable of horses, of top like Russian teams. One of them is Klimova and Ponomarenko, who she's coached to 2 Olympic medals so far. And all of her teams are extremely balletic. They all have this really, really heavy influence with modern dance and emphasis on like lines, beautiful positions, lifts, and it's just this extremely like you feel like you're at the theater watching them. It's beautiful and stretched out in a way that I think is unique to Russian dance. It's like watching Russian ice dancing. It's balletic in the way you see like a couple doing ballet working with a partner versus this kind of more formal like man presenting the woman
Right,
that we've
okay.
seen
Right.
before.
Okay.
So Klimova and Ponomarenko, they're the 2-time Olympic medalists. They are a married couple. They have this very heavy ballet influence from Dubova, but they also are very heavy on like drama and theater. They're like kind of theatrical in the vein of Bestemianova and Bukin, but with a much heavier ballet influence. The second team she has is Maya Usova and Alexander Julin.
Uh-huh.
They were not on the
Speaking
88.
of people waiting by the phone.
We will get to that. They were not
Ready
on.
to say.
They were not on the 88 Olympic team, but they were on every world podium from 89 onward.
Okay.
They are also a married couple. They are also extremely balletic, but their like artistry had a more modern edge. I would compare it to sort of like Balanchine material that you'd see at like New York City Ballet. It's like ballet dancers doing kind of more modern shapes and positions. It was all very like fluid, polished, and modern. These 2 teams are just they were amazing to watch. They were very different from everyone we'd had before, and they're very unique. Dubova had a 3rd team. They were not one of the ones in the mix for the medals, as I've described, but they were a very young team that she had, and they were Oksana Grishuk and Evgeny Platov.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
They're a very young team. Grishuk joined Dubova's group in 1989 when she was like 17, and Dubova paired her with Evgeny Platov. And unlike the other 2 partnerships, Grishuk and Platov are not married, and they don't even really like each other very much. But they had this like magnetic technical finesse together. Something about their partnership and their like kind of animosity for each other, it like really worked really well. And it's like they're very strong, and it sort of like elevated each other. So they're like the 3rd ranked Russian team of all Russian teams, and all the top 3 are with Dubova.
My
And
God.
they're hate dancing. But this
Footnote.
is very like, now we see like, sometimes 3 teams from the Montreal school
Yeah.
being at the top. It's that the same. They all have the same coach.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And Grishuk is not really in the mix for the medals here. They're always like right on the bubble. Just remember that they're there and they're training there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So the 3rd team that I want to mention that was on the world podium all this Olympic cycle and on the Olympic podium were the Duchesnays. Isabel and Paul
Hell
Duchesnay.
yeah. Let's get to the Duchesnays.
So,
Come on, Skate Canada. Listen up.
Isabel, she skated with her older brother, Paul. They were both from Quebec. They were French-Canadian, but they felt that they weren't progressing in Canada and that Skate Canada didn't appreciate their unique skating style. So they switched to France. And France, I would say, also, you know, kind of has a little bit more of the European politic worked out for them. Their skating was very unrefined. I would use the word... raggedy, and I am completely justified in using this word because Sandra Bezic on the international broadcast at Worlds, which they won, she called their skating somewhat ragged.
So you just updated.
Yeah.
what
You're just
she
adding
said.
a Y.
I am.
Raggedy.
The thing about the Duchesnays is that they were just a crowd favorite. They started working with Christopher Dean in like 1988, and Isabel actually like got engaged to and married to him for a couple of years, so he was very invested.
Oh.
Whoa.
Yeah, very invested in their skating. They had these really cool creative programs, concepts, and these transitional movements. And it's like you couldn't kind of tear your eyes off of them when they were competing. There was something like you just couldn't turn away from it. It was very, very engaging, even without like, it was just all innovation and like not a lot of skating skills. But there was just something cool about them. I mean, they would do really interesting things too. Like when they took the ice at Worlds, they would do their ending lift position from the year before as they're taking their starting position to basically continue their journey at the World Championship.
Okay, love it.
This is like the
yeah.
kind of artistry that I'm like, it's gone too far.
Yeah.
But
And
when we
skate-
talk about it, it's just
But
like
it's
people
cool.
have people are so lame now. Like how genius is that
Yeah.
to do something so annoying?
100%.
Well, I mean, Skate Canada was
100%.
not here from it. Like Skate Canada's coming off of like, you know, Wilson and McCall, who are just so great and just so like
Normal.
accessible, normal.
Yes,
Yes,
totally.
And France was just like, sure, we'll take it. Like,
Embrace,
let's go.
Right.
embrace
Yeah,
them with
do it.
open arms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said your last name is Duchesnay. Get over here. Passports are ready. Hot off the press.
Do that lift on the plane over to France.
Yeah.
Skate Canada's penance for not letting the Duchesnays be weird is Piper and Paul.
Yeah, literally.
That's so true.
Truly.
They're doing penance now.
Yeah.
Well, it's, you know, they drew a line in the sand. You can be weird, but you can't be related.
Yeah.
You can be
So-
weird and related. You can be related or weird, but
Exactly.
not both.
So this is the first like high level brother sister team we've seen in a while. And the Duchesnays are like slowly improving and eventually like get on the world podium. Isabel, she had a very like tomboy look on the ice. Like she leaned more into like a masculine style rather than looking like a man and a woman, which was very much the thing, a man and a woman in love, you know. No.
Sure.
She
Stem
was
and
kind
flower.
of like
Yeah.
kid sister, you know, or just like tomboy. It was like their way of avoiding kind of romantic themes. And I want to read this quote from a skating journalist at the time, said that their program's innovative symbols and movements were necessary because if they fully enacted the erotic narratives of either ballroom or classical dance, they might raise the specter of incest.
Saying the quiet part out loud.
My God.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean, we've been talking about this
Yeah.
with other sibling teams like throughout this last 2 seasons of like there are necessary things you have to do as a sibling team to not raise the specter
of incest.
Of incest.
Yeah. Well, some teams don't do them, some do.
Well, the specter's a lot harder to raise in some cases.
Yeah. So in 1989, the Duchesnays are third, behind Klimova, Ponomarenko, and Zoueva Julin. In 1990, they are second, splitting Klimova, Ponomarenko, and Zoueva Julin. So now we're going to head into 1991. And 1991 is the worst year of Klimova and Ponomarenko's life. I mean, maybe they've had worse years outside of skating, but this year was like brutal.
the worst year of their career.
I mean, yeah, it was
Life.
horrific.
AKA
horrific.
their life.
I mean, honestly, like if they've recovered from this, props to them.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so 1991, Europeans are in Sofia, Bulgaria. Klimova and Ponomarenko show up there, and they have this program to Lawrence of Arabia, where Ponomarenko is portraying the sand of the desert, and Klimova is portraying the wind.
It's always hard to portray two sightless elements.
Maddie and Evan have entered the chat.
But she was like she was something that you could like tactile. You
Yeah.
can't touch.
You can't touch the wind.
No, but you
No.
can't touch the sand. I take it back.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
genius. Go on.
So, and they perform in pantsuits. This is one thing that was very innovative about Klimova and Ponomarenko, that Klimova would wear like a pantsuit, and this time she had these big billowing kind of like wavy fabric down the side of it. So at Europeans, this Lawrence of Arabia program is very well received. They win. It's this big deal. They go home to Russia, and shortly after, they get a notice that Klimova's doping sample from Europeans tested positive for several banned substances.
Oh no.
Like
Well, I don't know what the substances are, but there were a lot.
Grandpa's heart medication.
Grandpa's heart. There were multiple.
Okay.
The team freaks out. They are just like, what? Klimova is absolutely adamant. She does not take doping. She doesn't take anything. She doesn't even take Tylenol when she has a headache. She's like, I did not dope, full stop. And the, Soviet Skating Federation is just like, what the hell? Like, this is not happening to our team. How dare you? This is in the New York Times. It's such a big deal that she has this, the Soviets are doping. They're doping. They're even doping an ice dancer. So they're basically like sidelined for a few weeks. It comes out that the laboratory that tested the doping sample is an unaccredited, not IOC accredited lab in Bulgaria.
Whoa.
So the Europeans in Bulgaria, they sent it to this Bulgarian lab, but it's not an IOC accredited lab.
Okay.
oh
And
my
this is the
God.
thing, because it's like, why are non-IOC accredited labs testing?
Right. Why would
Urine.
that be allowed? Yeah.
So Klimova insists, and her skating federation insists, that the second sample be tested. So that is sent to an IOC accredited laboratory in Germany. Germany, the German lab tests the sample, and guess what? She's innocent.
Of course she is. I
Klimova-
never doubted her for a second.
I just
Klimova's
got
innocent.
chills.
As
She's
innocent,
innocent.
as the wind.
She is very innocent. It is clean. It is clean as a whistle. There is nothing in it.
Oh, that's so.
So what? Like, what's the theory that
Yeah.
Bulgaria was trying to sabotage them?
Or maybe their lab was just messy.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, maybe the techs the lab are like doing,
There was a
Tryptopazamine.
reason. It
yeah, they're
wasn't
doing the heart
accredited.
medicine. Don't know what happened, but basically
Wow.
the German lab cleared her. I mean, and when it comes down to it, like between like the German lab and the Bulgarian lab, I feel like the Germans are gonna, even in 91, they get the technology to.
Absolutely.
If they don't find it, it's not there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Klimova and Ponomarenko then are like cleared. Huge sigh of relief, but they've missed several weeks and they've had a lot of emotional distress. I mean, they've been through it. So they go to Worlds in Munich, and they are third in both of the compulsory dances.
Oof.
The Duchesnays are second in both compulsory dances. The Duchesnays win the original dance, and then we go out for the free dance. And the Duchesnays do this pan flutes program that, I mean, it's crazy because I was like a child watching this at the time, and I was, ride or die for Klimova and Ponomarenko, and I couldn't believe
For the wind in the sand.
Yes, I couldn't believe how magnetic this Duchesnay's program was. The crowd was fully into it. It was captivating, and it was a very Isabel was in a dress, but it was a very kind of like tomboyish character she was playing. But the way they moved to the pan flutes and the way the program built, and the constant motion and the transitions, it was great. The Duchesnays win the free dance. Klimova and Ponomarenko, they skate relatively well, but their Lawrence of Arabia program is not received the way it was at Europeans. Something about, it's like the trauma of going through the experience, and then also like the fact that it
lost
happened.
momentum.
Yes.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So they finish second. They're on the ice hugging people when the scores come out. In 6.0, like these scores came out like instantly. So, Marina Klimova, like on the broadcast, is like hugging people in the crowd, and the scores come up that they're second. Devastating. So they lose their world title. And I'd like to remind you guys that the 1992 Olympics were in Albertville, France. The Duchesnays are skating for France. So they're going into the Olympics as the defending world champions in a home Olympics. It's not their home, but it's like their, adopted
Yeah,
home.
adopted home.
Home is where the passport is.
That's what we
from.
always say.
Yeah. And I just want to do a quick mention of Zoueva Julin here. They won both of the compulsory dances. They finished third overall, and pretty solid third going into the next season. All right. One thing that Klimova and Ponomarenko kind of noticed going through this doping drama, losing their world title, is their coach, Natalia Dubova, isn't that upset about all this. She wasn't that freaked out about the doping thing. She wasn't that upset about them losing their world title. And they're starting to notice that she really prefers their training mates, Zoueva Julin. Like to a degree.
Even though they haven't won as much.
No.
Interesting.
Dubova has a very like deep unconditional love for Maya Usova, and she thinks that she's just basically her prodigy, and she favors Usova Julin, and she is here for Usova Julin disrupting the status quo and basically winning the Olympics. So for her, it's kind of like, well, Klimova and Ponomarenko are sort of defeated. They're sort of weakened by this stuff. That's good for me because my team is going to beat them.
My other team.
They're both her
it's like
teams.
both
Right.
her team.
Right.
So even though that they're disrupting this sort of like, okay, you're next, you
Yeah.
will take over next.
Yeah.
She doesn't really care about that.
No, because I don't know if she's tired of them. I don't know if she's over it. She is all in for Usova Julin.
Okay.
And it was so intense that like Klimova and Ponomarenko actively found out about this favoritism, like it was confirmed to them. Like this journalist said that she saw Klimova crying after it was confirmed to her that Dubova favored the other team. And so this was a really trying period after like the beginning of the season was incredibly, I mean, the end of the season was really difficult, but then the off season going through this with Dubova, like not really feeling like they had her support. So, and also I want to point out that in 1991, the Soviet Union is like ending.
Falling apart.
Like your
Yeah.
country is going away. There's this huge existential dread in the
It's
background.
sort of like
everything.
American skaters now.
A little bit. A little bit. I know when we talk about like the Shibutani comeback in like 20 years, we'll be like, and the country was ending.
Right.
Yeah, when we do this lore episode in 20 years.
Bunker.
Yeah, we'll be like, you remember the United States of America? Well, now welcome to the separate states.
Yeah. So Klimova and Ponomarenko are like, we don't know what to do. Andrei Bukin, who remember is Ponomarenko's buddy, he's like, you know what? Tarasova's going to help you. And we got this. I'm going to talk to her. She'll take you guys. So Bukin calls Tarasova and is like, listen, can you help them out? Can you take them? And I don't know what Tarasova was doing back then, but she was just like, yeah, okay, sure. I'll take the 2-time world champions, multiple-time Olympic
God
medalists.
forbid.
So 4 months before the Olympics, Klimova and Ponomarenko officially go to Tarasova.
4 months.
Whoa, they
months.
waited a while.
Yes, they waited a really long time. I don't know if politically it was complicated for them. I'd love to ask them why they waited so long, but they go to Tarasova.
Yeah, so if you're listening, call in.
Leave us an Instagram DM.
Yeah. And something about going to Tarasova, she gives them their mojo back. I mean, she breathes like new life into this team. And
She kind of becomes famous for doing that
Just
for
a
a
little
lot
bit.
of
For
skaters.
breathing
Just a
new
little bit.
life.
Yes.
yeah, I mean, she has 4 months and she makes the most of it. They come into Europeans just completely refreshed, all their confidence back, and they are looking great. I also want to talk about 1991 for the Duchesnays. If you think Klimova Ponomarenko had a bad year, the Duchesnays had a worse one. So the Duchesnays are preparing for a home Olympics, essentially.
So sorry, you're talking about the second half of 91, right? Because
Yes.
in the first half of 91, the Duchesnays win the world title.
Yes.
Okay,
Off-season-
so you're talking off-season
Off-season
into...
and Olympic season.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
So it goes from the
91, 92 season.
Yes.
yes,
Okay.
from the best year of their life.
Yes.
To the worst.
Directly
To
to the worst.
To the worst.
And that's how we like it.
We've
in the
all
ice
been
dance
there.
lore. Yes, we have
Yes.
all been there.
We've all been there.
So they're preparing for the Olympic season, and in August, Isabel breaks a bone in her foot.
Oh boy.
In September, Isabel and Paul's older brother Gaston passes away from lung cancer.
Oh, no.
And he's very young.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Devastating. The team basically misses all of the fall season. They try to, recuperating her injury, dealing with their grief. They try to prepare for Europeans. In preparing for Europeans, Paul sustains a groin injury, and the team has to miss Europeans. So they show up to Albertville cold.
Yeah, like not having done anything.
Yeah. I'll tell you a little about the programs that these teams were skating. Klimova and Ponomarenko, they left the abstract desert themes behind, and they came to the Olympics with this program. It was a medley to pieces by Bach, and the title of the program was A Man and a Woman, From the Mundane to the Sublime. And
Okay.
yes, Klimova was once again in a unitard, but she had this like glorious like flowing fabric under her arms. It was
Okay.
very spidery, like spidery wings or something.
Like Stevie Nicks.
Totally. It was totally Stevie Nicks. The program had this very like eroticized ballet imagery, had these really glorious positions and like these really drawn out lifts where Klimova would hit these positions that really stuck in your memory. Klimova was also known for their lifts. They did some insane lifts, one of which was like banned for years and years and years, where she was in an upside down split position just because it's so dangerous. And
It's not banned anymore.
I don't think so. I think
Okay.
they dropped it. But
Because
don't-
we could really see more injuries.
Don't try it.
Honestly, that would
They're
be,
like,
yeah.
this sport has gotten
Yeah.
too safe.
yeah.
Let's
I
bring
mean,
back the danger.
Maddie and Evan could do it. I don't want to see anyone else try it because it's like terrifying.
Yeah.
The Duchesnays had a very like sibling friendly West Side Story theme. They were doing West Side Story where Isabel was Maria and Paul was playing, rather than playing like Tony, he was playing Maria's older brother Bernardo, who's the leader of the Sharks gang.
That's so smart.
Yeah.
It was cute. But
that is sibling friendly.
yes.
Yes.
I
Play
was
the
wondering.
brother.
Yeah.
I
The
was
specter.
wondering the specter of incense.
Yeah.
Is that what you're going incense?
Spectre incense.
The specter of incense. I was wondering where you were going when you said sibling friendly West Side Story. I
Yeah.
was like,
Oh,
that
me
is sort
too.
of famously a doomed love story.
Well, it's weird because the way that Isabel played Maria, she doesn't seem like Maria in the musical, who's kind of independent and pursuing her own like romantic interests and sort of jettisoned from her brother's like world. Like Isabel kind of played, she was almost like kid sister to the gang. Like she was in it, you know, and it was a cool Christopher Dean program. It was very creative, but they came into it with very little training
Sure.
and preparation. And for the situation, they had a lot of crowd support. They skated really well. Klimova and Ponomarenko pretty handily seized the gold medal. Boosted by Tarasova and their very cool program, and there's just sort of like spidery romance to their program. It was really commanding, and they won pretty handily. The Duchesnays come in second at home. In third place are Zoueva and Julin. And I want to talk about this Zoueva and Julin program because this year and the next season, I feel like these Zoueva and Julin programs, if you care about ice dance, you need to watch these a lot because they're very special. This season, Zoueva Julin had and keep in mind, Dubova is like relieved of her burden of dealing with Klimova and Ponomarenko. She can focus all of her energy on Zoueva Julin.
She's relieved of her burden
Yes.
to win a gold
Yeah,
medal
yeah.
Right.
because she's going to win bronze.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think she felt like she could politic them into gold, but like that's not happening.
Right.
You know, they're in line. Stay in line. So Zoueva Julin had a program to 4 seasons, and the theme was they were statues coming to life. And at the time, this was an original idea.
Right, because I was going to say, I've heard this idea
Yes.
Like,
multiple times
recently.
recently.
Like they were the
Yes.
first ones to do it. It was
Okay.
incredibly original, and they were sort of these like eroticized statues, and they had these images of like symmetry and like parallelism in their movements, and it was very balletic and modern, but like really interesting shapes. And the program opened with this really interesting music cut. It was sort of like a long unwinding string sound. It was very cool. They ended up finishing third. I think there was kind of an argument the year before and this year, the year before at Worlds and this year, that they should have placed higher than they did, but they were third. In Albertville, Grishik Platov, that other Dubova team I mentioned, they were fourth.
Okay.
The Duchesnay skipped
So they're
Worlds.
in line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Duchesnay skip Worlds, and the Russians, well, the Soviets, unified
The
team.
unified
The
team.
unified team sweeps the podium at Worlds. Klimova, Ponomarenko go back. They get their world title back.
Okay.
And Zoueva Julin are second, despite they had a pretty severe fall on a lift, and they both fell, but they still got their medal. And then Grishik and Platov were third.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Grishik-
all 3 of these Dubova teams,
Yes.
right?
Yes, except one is
Except
Dubova
one
X.
is now a Tarasova team.
Yeah. So
Excuse
Dubova
me.
could have like had an Olympic champion, and she just chose not to have
So
one.
that is the chapter of the favoritism
Yes.
of Dubova.
Yes.
And that's the end of this Olympic quad.
Yes. I'll just give you a little background on some of the skaters and what happened to them because we're not going to see them again. So Klimova and Ponomarenko retired after this Worlds. They went on to have a very successful pro career. And, I think they were still working with Tarasova, and they enjoyed their freedom having they did some really cool, dramatic, interesting programs. They did this one to Dracula where they had like a giant red piece of fabric and they would like move underneath it, like undulating. It was very cool. Ultimately, they settled in Northern California. They started coaching young dancers, like kind of developmental coaches. Although I think they had some senior teams. And then they had 2 sons, Tim and Anthony.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, like probably one of the happiest endings for the people that I'm going to talk about in this podcast.
So enjoy
for
it while
them.
you can, everyone.
Yeah, good for them. The Duchesnays also retired after 92. They did, and Isabel and Christopher Dean divorced in 93.
Oh, God. She had a really rough few years.
Yeah. Well, and then they did some pro competing, like pro skating for a while. And then Paul was in a really serious rollerblading accident in 1996. And then they retired after that for good.
I have a question for the professor. Well, I'm curious how Dubova showed her favoritism, other than maybe perhaps like not caring about Klimova's doping result.
I think it was a combination of the attention she paid to them, the material she gave them, and the politicking she did for them. Basically going to the federation and talking them up, saying that they should be number one, talking to the judges, talking to whoever, like being like, I have these two teams and one of them's like the world champion, but it's honestly the other team that should be on top. And it may have been so subtle as her just doing that a little bit, and actually it being confirmed that she was doing that made Klimova and Ponomarenko feel so undermined and unsupported.
Right, that she was doing it at all,
Yeah.
even if she wasn't really
Yeah.
overdoing it.
Yeah.
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
Can I ask if this is similar to in the men's lore? We talked about Mishin really politicking heavily for Plashenko over Yagudin. Was this sort of similar, or did this seem like even more extreme?
I think it was more extreme in the amount of love and support that Dubova had for Zoueva Julin, particularly for Zoueva, but I think she was a lot less direct about it. I think that the Mishin he was very transparent. He would tell you that Plashenko was better. I don't know that Dubova was that blatant. I think it was like more subtle behavior she did in closed spaces.
Okay.
So are we on chapter 2?
We are on chapter 2.
What's the title of chapter 2?
Chapter 2 covers a little bit of the last Olympic cycle we just talked about and the next Olympic cycle leading into 1994 Olympics. And this title is called The Exploits of Julin.
Oh, I'm scared.
So we just talked about the Olympic cycle leading up to 1992, and I'm going to go over some of that again from a different perspective. And I want to clarify here at this point, everything I'm saying is alleged. It has, most of it, been confirmed verbally by the people involved. But I feel in a lot of circumstances they may be kind of unreliable witnesses, necessarily maybe slanting their perspective a little bit, their accounts. Everything is alleged. So
sure, they all have an interest.
they do. And they all have an image, and they all were,
And an ego.
Yes. So going back to 1980, Zoueva and Julin teamed up. Zoueva was 16, Julin was like 16 or 17. In 1986, 6 years into their partnership, they get married. So they are a married couple competing for several years together. Around 1990 or 91, Alexander Julin started having an affair with Oksana Grishuk.
Oh
the
my
one
God.
Okay, the one who got 4th at the Olympics
Correct.
in 92. Okay.
Correct.
Yes.
Now, Dubova's group at the time, they at some point moved from Russia and they were in Lake Placid training. So Lake Placid's pretty isolated.
Lake Placid?
The
Yes.
people you can find in Lake Placid, Russian ice dancers and bobsledders. And that's actually all
And
there is there.
retirees.
And I think Bruce Springsteen actually has a place there.
And him.
Yeah.
And he's coaching ice dance, actually.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
So Julin, he's married. He starts having an affair with Grishuk. Grishuk is, remember, she and Platov are young. She's 11 years Julin's junior.
So how old is she
she's
when
like
they start up?
18 or 19, and he's like 28, 29. This affair was very intense. They both felt very, very passionately for each other. I mean, most affairs are quite intense, but this was like both of them, they were really into it.
Right. Well, they
And-
channeled all of the energy that they had
Yes.
as a young person being in Lake Placid
Yeah.
into this.
Well, there was nowhere else for their energy to go.
Yeah.
Certainly not towards the
It was-
bobsledders.
It was this or sliding down the luge track in Lake
Yeah.
Placid.
So
my.
at the 92 Olympics in Albertville, Julin gives Grishuk his wedding ring from his marriage to Zoueva. He gives it to Grishuk for good luck. Good luck getting her through the Olympics.
Wait, what? And he's still married to Zoueva?
Yes, and Zoueva doesn't know yet.
Well, does she
So
know,
where did-
where's your ring?
So that comes up.
Oh,
So-
my
I'm sure it does.
So Oksana Grishuk wears Julin's wedding ring on a chain in her neck for both compulsory dances in Albertville.
What?
Oh, my God. Wait, what?
Sorry, that's a crazy thing to give someone for good luck. It's like, that's someone who wants to get caught.
Well, he did.
And he does.
Maya Zoueva finds out mid-Olympics, literally
Oh my
between their
God.
events. Like they had two compulsory dances, an original dance, original step pattern, and then free dance. In between this, she finds out that this is going on and that Grishuk has it. She's furious.
Mm-hmm.
She's very, very upset. And
Can't imagine why.
Grishuk gives it back to him. This is like, again, this is not confirmed. This is from Oksana Grishuk. This is her account of how she experienced the events and how they transpired.
Okay.
Allegedly. This is what happened. So then, Both teams go to Worlds. They both end up on the world podium. And then they do an amateur tour after the season ends. And this is this tour of champions, world and Olympic champions. And so both teams are on this tour together. Also on the tour are a bunch of other skaters. And skating is like really popular in the U.S. at this point. So they're touring all over the U.S., all these skaters with them. And Julien and Grishuk continue their affair very intensely throughout this tour.
And this is, sorry, so Zoueva knows that this is going on,
She knows.
but has not divorced Julien at this point.
And she has not divorced him or left him at this point. And she doesn't want it to be going on. She's basically kind of told him, like, stop. And she wants to believe he stopped. But, you know, they're not in Lake Placid, like, secretly sneaking around anymore. Like, they're out and about with other skaters. And people are telling her that this is still happening.
Mm-hmm.
So Zoueva finds out, there are some high-profile incidents. Zoueva finds out at one point that Julien and Grishuk are going to be at a restaurant together in Hollywood. And it's called Spagos. I think it's in Hollywood somewhere. There's still one in Beverly Hills. I don't know if it's the same one.
Okay.
But anyway, Zoueva walks in and she sees Grishuk sitting at the bar having a margarita. Grishuk claims it was a Coke with Julien. And
Who
Zoueva,
claimed it was a margarita? Zoueva?
it's like in the lore, it's like in the stories you hear the accounts of it. There were other
Okay.
skaters there.
Sure. Oh, okay.
And
Okay.
this was like published in the New York Times, okay? This was someone told somebody something. This has been
God,
reported.
the New York Times has really gone downhill because
well,
this is the kind of thing I would
yeah,
read.
seriously.
I want to know what's going on at Spago. What Lake Placid residents are hitting up Spago?
Is it
With their-
Spago? That's what it's called?
Spago. It's in
Okay.
Hollywood.
Uh-huh.
So Zoueva walks up to the bar and puts her hand on Oksana's head and slams her head into the bar top. She's pissed.
Yeah. Is she?
Many years later, Zoueva claimed, literally in an interview on a testimonial on a television show, she said, I just slapped her. I slapped her. Grishuk claims that Zoueva basically punched her, but other accounts from other people there said she just slammed her head into the bar.
Okay, so she just slapped her head into the bar. She just didn't finish the
There was
sentence.
assault, basically.
There was an assault of some kind.
Were the police called?
No, I don't think so. Grishuk claims that Zoueva apologized to her afterward and they kind of like forged a friendship. Who knows if that's true?
They forged a friendship.
Correct.
Oh my God. While Grishuk was forging a new nose.
Yeah.
Or,
Oh my
and
God.
fluid building up around the brain.
Oksana Grishuk, you'll find, is pretty resilient. Drama. She comes out. I mean, better than she went in. She's pretty. She's
Hell
like Teflon.
yeah.
I mean, she's a pretty badass. So okay, so this is still the off season between '92 and the '92-'93 season starting. So this is still the off season. Zoueva goes to their coach Dubova, and remember, Dubova loves my Zoueva, and she tells her what's going on, and she says Oksana Grishuk is interfering in my marriage. And Dubova is like, excuse me? The teams are back in Lake Placid at this point. Dubova kicks Grishuk out of her camp.
Whoa.
Like, kicks her out. And again, there are multiple accounts of this. Grishuk claims that she just left. She just had enough and she left. But there's also accounts where, like, Dubova, like, assaulted her, freaked out at her, that it was this very difficult exchange. So Grishuk leaves the
But
camp.
something happens.
Something happened.
And they are no longer with Dubova.
Correct. Well, no, not they. Just her.
Oh.
Just Grishuk.
So Platov gets to stay?
Platov stays. Grishuk goes eventually back to Moscow, and Grishuk eventually she has to do a little, pleading, but she reconciles with her first coach, the coach that coached her from when she was like 11 or 12 until she was 17 when she went to Dubova.
Wait, reconciles? What did
Well-
she do as a 17-year-old?
She's burning bridges left and right.
Correct. She left, and this first coach, is Natalia Linichuk.
Oh,
Okay.
my God.
She's back.
Whoa.
Yes.
This is not just your first coach. This
Wow.
is Natalia Linichuk.
This is Natalia Linichuk, and Natalia Linichuk and her husband Gennady Karponosov. They are coaching in Moscow, and they have a skating school. So
And they take her back in.
They take her back in. And they begin the search for her, finding her a new partner. They have her try out with Peter Chernyshev, who is a very talented Russian skater. He ends up skating for the U.S. in the future, but
Yeah.
this is, side character in this. So Grishuk is like kind of thinking about skating with Chernyshev. Meanwhile, Platov is still in Lake Placid with Dubova's group.
Yeah, just doing edge classes in the
Well,
morning.
Dubova tentatively teams him up with this really talented teenager that's in her group, Tatiana Navka.
Oh my God.
So he's tentatively skating with Navka. Grishuk is like potentially skating with Chernyshev. And Grishuk is just like, okay. She calls Platov and she's like, listen, I know we don't like each other. You know, things have been great. Let's don't throw it away because they do have something really special. And also, Platov happens to be engaged to a Russian ice dancer who is living in Moscow. And so he's like, yeah, I guess I'll come live there with my girlfriend, future wife, and skate with you. And I guess we can try and win the Olympics and whatever. So Platov leaves Dubova's camp and he goes to Moscow to skate with Grishuk. And they re-team up and Natalia Linichuk is coaching them. They're training with her. But you might wonder, what happened to Julin and Grishuk's relationship?
I am wondering that.
Because they went
among
from this-
other things that I'm
I'm
wondering.
wondering a ton of stuff right now.
They went from this very, very intense romantic relationship to a kind of like violent expulsion for Grishuk from this camp. And so like, what's going on? Allegedly, Julin was basically talking to Grishuk about he still wanted to continue with their relationship. He wanted to marry her. He had given her a ring on a tour that was like an engagement ring. He's like,
Not his
ring.
own wedding
not his
ring.
own, a new ring that was for her. But that was like, for when I'm divorced from Zoueva, then we can get married.
Oh my God.
And
then-
I'll put my wedding ring back on for you.
And then take this with a huge grain of salt. This was a story at the time. Grishuk has like said both sides of this. Who knows if it's like really true, but allegedly Julin kind of wanted her to stop skating and be his wife at home because he's already been through a marriage with like a partner and it's not comfortable. And it's like having someone who's in the same career as you and like it's like his home life and his personal life, which is it was too his home
Well,
life
and
was work
now
life.
she's been kicked out of Lake Placid, so the only way that she could like live with him and be with him would be to not be skating in Lake Placid.
Technically, yeah.
And not be skating in Moscow either. Yeah, okay.
So I don't really know if Grishuk was really taking this seriously, but she was definitely waiting for him in Moscow. She thought he was going to come see her. I mean, after this has happened to her, she hasn't seen him in a while. And it's like, you'd think you'd want to go, even like you're cheating, but it's like your person you're in love with goes through this experience. You want to go and see them. So she's waiting for him. And then one day she gets a phone call from Maya Usova.
She forged a friendship.
Yeah.
Ring, ring.
Yeah.
It's
Maya
Spago.
It's Wolfgang Puck. I'm asking for my bar to be repaired.
She's like, we owe Wolfgang Puck.
$30,000 in courts.
And Grishuk is like, I don't know him shit.
Yeah. So Maya Usova is like, hey, girly. Guess what? Julin's not coming to Moscow to see you. He's having an affair with Tatiana Novka.
What?
He was cheating on both of them, basically. So Julin at this point is 31,
And Novka is a teenager.
19.
I do
Okay,
feel like I
yes.
have to paint the picture of what's going on in the room, which is that everyone's mouths are agape. We are in
This
shock.
is shocking.
Yeah.
Oh my God. This is what happens when you train in a place where there's nothing going on.
Yeah.
You're asking for affairs. You're asking to
Yeah.
wear your training mate's wedding ring around your neck during the Olympic compulsory dance. You're begging for it.
Yeah.
Tale as old as time.
Oh
And-
my God.
As you can imagine, Oksana, can I swear on this podcast?
Yes.
Oksana Grishuk is fucking pissed. She is pissed off and claims she calls Julin after this and she's like, we're done. I'm done with you. I don't know if this was the true end of their like romantic relationship, but this is like the very beginning. This is like, it was pretty much done from here on out. And Grishuk's like, you know what? I'm just going to like fucking skate. I'm going to skate. She teams up, like she's reteamed with
And
Platov.
this is all happening in the 1992 off season.
Correct.
Oh my God.
Correct.
I feel like I've lived 10 years in
Yes.
this chapter.
So
okay.
she's reteamed with Platov and they're training with Linichuk and she goes back to training with this new like vigor and vengeance. And I mean, she's got like a fire under her. And she's just like, I'm going to fucking kill it. So anyway,
I wonder
even
what
more-
Platov thought of all of this. He's like,
Well-
you are a fucking mess.
Yeah, that wasn't, the mess hadn't even started yet, honestly. He
Oh,
was like,
it hadn't started
no,
yet.
No. I mean, he, you know. Anyway.
My
So-
We don't know.
God.
You really don't.
Even more amazingly, that like during all of this drama happening, Dubova manages with Zoueva and Julin to put together like one of the best free dances ever. Like last year, they had this 4 seasons program that was incredible. In the 92-93 season, they do this program called Blues for Kluk. And yes, I know you've seen like everyone and their mom skate to this music.
Mm-hmm.
No one skated to it like Zoueva Julin. They had this program that was just so like slinky and sexy and amazing. It was like very modern balletic movement. I mean, again, I want to say like city ballet. This was just extraordinary skating. It was a really beautiful program. The way they interpreted the rhythm, it was magic. And like for all their personal drama that was going on, I mean, maybe like the issues in their marriage added to like the chemistry that they showed on the ice. This program was a masterpiece. And so
the theme of hate skating, hate dancing, being successful is showing up repeatedly.
Yes.
In the
common
lore.
theme. A common theme.
Yeah.
Yeah. So throughout that season, 92, 93, Zoueva and Julien, they win everything. They win Europeans. They win Worlds. Finally, Dubova has her team that she wants on top. And they are the champions. Gorshkov and Platov are pretty much like second behind them. So then heading into the Olympic season, and again, this is like the Olympics are 2 years later because they switched the schedule. So we have like a 2 years later Olympics.
Yes. We're going into the Nancy Tanya Olympics, 94.
Correct. I mean, you guys were watching Nancy and Tanya, and I was watching Melrose Place.
I wasn't watching any of this. I was not that old.
Going into the next season, Julien is injured. He finishes the 93 Worlds, and after that, I don't know if he had the injury nursing it throughout the season or it just became worse afterward. I believe it was a knee injury. I've read that in the
Well,
past.
no shit. It's a knee injury. He's out hopping around to all of the girls in Lake Placid.
Yeah.
Come on, he's the town bike over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, your knees are bound to give out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so they get a kind of a late start to the season. And as you guys know, the Russian Federation, they liked, well, post-Soviet Russian Federation at the time, the Skating Federation, basically, I don't know what they were called. They want to see your programs. They want you to do test skates. They want to give you feedback. U.S. Figure Skating does this too. It's less ominous when U.S. Figure Skating does it. But Zoueva Julien, they
That's
don't
what you think.
do any of the stuff. Dubova doesn't let anyone see them. They're secluded in Lake Placid, training, doing who knows what. And Russia's like, where are you guys? What's going on? Like, come on. The Olympics are coming. And I'd like to bring up another team that you may remember from 1984, Torvill and Dean.
I do.
Yes, yes.
So the rules changed right before the 94 Olympics that basically said skaters that had retired had the ability to reinstate if they chose to do so. We saw skaters in all disciplines do this. And two of the skaters that decided to do it in dance were Jane Torvill and Christopher Dean.
And just to clarify, what you mean is that back then you were not allowed to be professionally skating and doing amateur
Correct.
skating in competition, which now skaters do both.
And
but you could not do it at that point.
And once you retired, you were done. You couldn't go back to amateur. You're out. But this rule change allowed them to do it.
Okay.
So Torvill and Dean are basically, they announced they're coming back. And everyone's like, oh my God, Torvill and Dean. And like I said, Torvill and Dean are very respected worldwide, and particularly like Russia looks at them as amazing skaters. And so Russia's just kind of like, we still need to win the Olympics. Like, what's going on? So, Gorshkov and Platov, meanwhile, are in Moscow training with Linichuk. And Natalia Linichuk is a very, I would say she's a very serious coach. She does really good, like, technical work, and she's really good at packaging skaters for big events, like giving them programs that are attention-grabbing and that they can deliver. So she gives Gorshkov and Platov in the Olympic season this free dance to Rock Around the Clock. And they skate it. And
What?
yeah,
No, I mean, okay. Keep going.
it's a very like exciting, dynamic, like attention getting program. And the two of them, they're just very fresh faced and they sort of just like sell the shit out of it. So going into Europeans, it's like, what's going to happen? Torvill and Dean show up at Europeans looking great and they win Europeans.
Wow. Okay.
And they didn't really compete. They didn't compete in the fall. I think they went to British Nationals and then they went to Europeans and they win.
So how many years had it been?
10. But they'd been skating and they'd been doing professional skating. So they win Europeans. And Gorshkov and Platov are second and Zoueva and Julien are third. And this is like shocking for Zoueva and Julien because the previous season they were unbeatable. And now they're third at Europeans. It's like, oh.
Wow.
I want to talk a little bit about their programs going into the 1994 Olympics. And this was kind of like going into Lillehammer. We didn't really know what was going to happen because Torvill and Dean were back and like winning things. And so there was one school of thought that thought, the Russians are better. There's been technical progress in the sport and they're better at it and they should be on top. And then there's another school of thought that like Torvill and Dean are the greatest ever. They look amazing. Their style is timeless. They should win. So it was just kind of confusing as to what would happen. Torvill and Dean had this really upbeat, like traditional big band piece of music, very different than Bolero. It was like, let's face the music and dance. It was very like perky. There was no like deep theme to it. It was just very like light, like bubbles on champagne, their program.
In a good
very
way?
good way.
Okay.
In a very good way.
I wasn't sure if like people would be like, oh, this isn't the Torvill and Dean we remember
No,
from Bolero.
Not at all. They did
People
Bolero.
liked it?
Yeah, people liked it. It was great. This is actually probably the only Olympics I can think of where the top 3 teams all had really upbeat programs. So Grishik and Platov are doing Rock Around the Clock. Torvill and Dean do this.
Which is the craziest sentence I've ever heard.
It really is.
So Usev and Julin, once they finally like debut their programs, they're skating to a Nino Rota medley, but it's like some of his like upbeat music. It's very like upbeat, bouncy Italian kind of music. that
Nina
they're dancing
Rota
to.
will eventually become a plague within the figure skating
Yes.
world.
Not these pieces.
He's most well known for the Godfather theme.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
Not to take thank
Yeah.
you, Justine, because I was limiting him to sort
A
of
plague.
Being a plague.
I'm like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, that's how I originally know the name.
Yeah. So this program that Usev and Julin have, it's like kind of departure from their past couple of free dances, which are very focused on their lines and their like kind of movement and their positions. It's very like bouncy and like has these silly kind of exuberant romantic gestures. Knowing now what was going on behind the scenes, Maya was deeply unhappy. Maya Useva was deeply unhappy. She was skating with, her husband, who she was basically separated from, who was now dating a teenager at their rink.
Oh my God. It sounds like
And-
a nightmare.
After his years-long affair with another teenager
Yes.
from their rink.
Correct. And the choreography is very smiley and playful. And there's like one point where Julin like pulls her by her ponytail. And it's just kind of like,
Oh, I hate that.
yeah. It's,
That's very 90s playful.
yeah.
Pull the woman by her hair. Pull your ex-wife by
It's
her
not a
hair.
bad program. It's a great program, but like with their body of work, I mean, I would say like their past 2 free dances are probably like 2 landmark programs in the history of ice dancing. They were, genre changing. They were fantastic. It was just not, it was an interesting departure for them. But anyway, they get to Lillehammer.
Wait, Michelle, I have a
Yeah.
question. So you said it's like a big departure for them. Did they make this change like in accordance with what Torvill and Dean were doing? Or was it just like
A
ironic
coincidence?
that all of these teams are doing upbeat programs?
I think it's kind of ironic and a coincidence. I don't really know what led them all in that direction, but that would be a good question to ask any of them. I'd like to know.
All right.
It was an interesting turn of events. So we had like 3 like frisky, feisty free dances going to the
Okay.
podium. So they get to Lillehammer. This is probably one of the closest Olympic results I've ever seen in dance. Useva Julin win the first compulsory dance. Grishuk second, Torvill and Dean third. Grishuk wins the second compulsory dance. Useva Julin second, Torvill and Dean third. Torvill and Dean win the original dance. Then Grishuk, then Useva. So going into the free dance, Torvill and Dean are in the lead, but because the Russians split the compulsory dances and Torvill and Dean won the original dance, whoever wins the free dance basically wins the Olympics.
Got it.
Drama.
Yeah.
Love it.
And I wouldn't say anyone skated badly. They all skated really well. But Torvill and Dean are penalized for a lift that is considered basically illegal because Jane Torvill is above Christopher Dean's shoulder. Grishik and Platov have multiple moments in their program that should be called ruled violations, but weren't. Like they had multiple separations that were longer than 5 seconds. They also had an assisted lift. They weren't called. So Grishik and Platov win. Useva Julin second, and Torvill and Dean are third.
Okay.
So Grishik and Platov, I mean,
So Grishik gets her
she gets her
revenge.
revenge. Amazing fashion. She's on the podium above Julin and basically jumped the line and took the medal that he was in line for.
Right.
Useva Julin are second, and they are devastated.
So they have 2 silver medals in a row at the Olympics.
No, they were bronze.
Oh, they were bronze
Yeah.
in 92. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're devastated.
Do they ever get gold?
No.
Uh-huh.
They're so devastated, they go to their rooms in the Olympic Village and they don't come out again until the end of the games. Like they miss everything. They don't party. They don't hang out with anyone. They are crushed. Alexander Julin has said later on about how devastated they were and how they watched Torvill and Dean go out and celebrate their bronze medal. And they didn't. They were happy that they got a medal and they were some of the oldest Olympic medalists ever in skating. And they were happy and they celebrated it. And it took him a really long time to get to the point where he was like, I should celebrate this silver medal. But at the time, they're crushed and they're so upset that they withdraw from Worlds. they don't go to Worlds. I would like to mention at this point, I talked about some of the scoring inconsistencies. Tracy Wilson was working for CBS at the time, and she went on television and basically talked about how the rules are being applied inconsistently across different skaters. Torvill and Dean are called out for something that Grishik and Platov are not. And actually pulled clips from the programs and showed areas where one team was penalized and one team wasn't, and one should have and one shouldn't have been. So that was kind of an interesting moment where the American TV coverage of ice dance was starting to kind of question the way it was being judged and the way that skaters were being placed.
So pointing out the politics.
Yeah, just a little bit.
essentially.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it before like the North American audience just really wasn't calling it out because they weren't really in contention for any sort of placement? So it just was like it was what it was. It is what it is.
A little bit. I think that she was making a concerted effort with CBS to try and explain what the scoring was in ice dance and how it actually worked. Because ice dance feels a little obscure if you don't know a lot about skating. There's like not jumps to see. Also, there was a very strong interest in Torvill and Dean. And I think them winning Europeans and then coming to the Olympics and losing, I feel like it was hard to explain to people why that happened.
And they were probably the American audience's favorite because they were so famous and they're British, like they're English speaking.
Yeah.
So she's trying to explain why they didn't win.
Yeah.
All right.
So after this Olympic cycle, Zoueva and Julien retire, and they, personally off the ice, they are separated. They eventually divorce, and they spend the next 4 years doing skating shows together, basically skating professionally, because that was how you made money, and they made a lot of money doing that.
Wow, I can't believe they kept doing that.
From there, they will come up again after the 98 Olympics. I will bring them up again then.
What? Okay, well, I'll be waiting. Wait, so is that chapter 2?
That's pretty much the conclusion of chapter 2.
Okay.
I'm going to move on to chapter 3.
Which is called
The next Olympic cycle, 94 to 98. Tracy Wilson versus the world, parentheses, of ice dance.
What?
Close parentheses.
So this was the beginning of Tracy's troubles.
Yes, a little bit.
Okay.
After the 94 Olympics, Natalia Linichuk had an invitation to coach at the University of Delaware. So she and her husband, Gennady Karponosov, and all their teams, they moved to Delaware. So Russian ice dance basically moves to the U.S. Dubova's already in Lake Placid, but Linichuk brings all of her teams. And at this point, it's kind of interesting. When Zoueva and Julien retire, Dubova has kind of lost all of her top Russian teams. She doesn't have a top team anymore. They're all with Natalia Linichuk now.
So Linichuk obviously still has Grishik and Platov, who've just won the Olympics.
Yes.
And then what is going on with Tatiana Novka, who was with Dubova having an affair? Like, what is she doing?
She is still
in Lake Placid?
Yeah, she's still in Lake Placid, but I believe she was still involved with Julien all this time. I think Julien he started coaching in, I think, New Jersey for a bit, and he would go up to Lake Placid and see her. But they're still basically on.
Okay.
Yeah. Novka will come up again in a couple of years from now.
I have no doubt.
I have a good feeling.
I have a good feeling about her career.
Yeah.
The future oligarch's wife.
Yeah. Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Oh, we laugh because we cry.
Exactly.
So basically, Grishik and Platov, they win the 1994 World Championships. They win the 1995 World Championships. Nobody's touching them. They're great. They're just on top of the world. Platov starts having issues with his knees, which is a common thing in, ice dancers at the time. He starts having knee problems. He misses most of fall 1995, but then they come back and they win 1996 Worlds.
Okay.
And the team that's in second is another team that trains with them, with Linichuk, Angelika Krylova, and Oleg Ovsyannikov.
Whoa, okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And the team that is in third is a Canadian team, Shaylin Bourne and Victor Kratz.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's getting juicy.
Yeah. And I also want to mention 1996 Europeans. There are 2 Russians and a Ukrainian team on the podium, all Linichuk. Basically, one coach sweeping the entire Europeans podium. For real, not like Dubova, like getting like 2/3 of worlds and like claiming the other team that's left her. But like Linichuk was actively coaching all 3 medalists at Europeans.
Mm-hmm.
So she's doing really well and has, this really big stable of teams.
Mm-hmm.
Later in 1996, Platov's knees are bothering him again. And they miss most of the season and basically all of the fall because of his issues. Krylova and Ovsyannikov at this time are, I guess I can talk a little bit about them. They have a kind of a different look than Grishuk and Platov. Grishuk and Platov are like a more kind of athletic team, and they have this amazing, like you said, hate chemistry and just incredible edges and power. Krylova and Ovsyannikov are a little more like dramatic and kind of classical. They're much taller. They're very technically strong, but they're like very like theatrical, especially Krylova. I mean, she serves like the definition of serving face, like projecting to the person in the last row of the audience. And she and Oleg had a really interesting partnership because she was so fiery, but he was like kind of softer, and but they complemented each other. I wouldn't call it like hate skating. Like they
liked each other.
Yeah, I don't think they were in a relationship, but they always liked each other a lot. And they trained really hard. They worked hard, and Linichuk gave them really good material, and they competed well. So fall 1996, Grishuk and Platov are like trying to wait to get back to competition, dealing with his injury, and they're watching Krylova Ovsyannikov just like slay and work really hard in training and do really well. And they start getting a little nervous. So they go to the Russian Federation and they're like, "Are you guys still behind us? We're still your number one." The Russian Federation's like, "I don't know, like go skate. I don't know. you're not competing. What do you want?"
We're not committing to anything.
Yeah. And they go to their coaches, Linichuk and Karponosov, and they basically say the same thing. And like, I want to say again, like Natalia Linichuk is a really, I think, a serious coach. She's not, I don't think her favoritism, it's not like Dubova. Like Dubova was like ride or die for Maya Usova. And I think Linichuk, for her, it was more about like, I'm going to make all my teams the best they can be. I just want all the medals. I don't care what order they're in.
Okay.
And basically what Grishuk and Platov say to Linichuk is they want her to not only like make sure that they're her number one team, but like to make sure Krylova can't beat them. Like essentially weaken Krylova and Ovsyannikov, allegedly. And Linichuk and Karponosov are like, no.
Yeah,
If
we're
you
not
can't
weakening.
keep up.
Yeah.
We're not going to
Like,
weaken one
if
of
you
our
want to
teams.
win, then you need to beat them.
Yeah.
So Grishuk and Platov have like, they've had it. And so they moved to Massachusetts. They moved to Marlborough, Massachusetts.
Wow. New Russia.
And who's coaching in Marlborough, Massachusetts at that time? Tatiana Tarasova.
Oh my God.
She's always
This
somewhere.
bitch is everywhere. She is everywhere.
Yeah. And at this time, she's coaching a young Russian men's skater named Ilya Kulik. And he's
Yes.
sort of just like on the bubble at this point. He hasn't like had his big breakthrough yet.
Right.
But Grishuk and Platov go to Tarasova, and like Tarasova loves to do,
And
she
sorry,
gives
so
them.
Grishuk and Platov go to Tarasova, even though Linichuk's like, they just basically wanted Linichuk to be like, oh yeah, sure,
Yeah.
we'll make Krylova worse.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't.
Or to basically say, we're behind you 100%. We want you to
Yeah.
win. And Grishuk and Platov also had like a suspicion that Linichuk wanted them to retire and move on so that Krylova could then become number one.
You know, from like an athlete's perspective,
Yeah.
I understand that like you want to make sure. I think like some athletes will get into a position where they're like, instead of competing with my competition, they start to like sabotage themselves and think like the coach is pushing one of us. They're giving us, they have two choices of music and they're giving the better choice to this team and the worst choice to that one. And that's where they get in their head and probably where they're thinking, okay, you know what? We can't take this risk.
Well, and I feel like that's definitely an easier school of thought to fall into in ice dance
Absolutely.
because it's more political. And
also-
more of the
yeah.
coaches participate actively in the choreography and the selection of music. Like if you think of like two men's skaters under Raphael Artunian, they have different
doesn't care.
choreographers. He's not giving them music. He's
no.
not.
And
he's
at the end of the
coaching
day,
them.
you either land or you fall.
Yes,
it's
exactly.
more-
So it's less like, oh, I'm being preferred over them or not.
Right.
Yeah.
And also remember, Grishuk and Platov, when they were pretty young, they were with Dubova when all the drama with Klimova Ponomarenko went down. They saw it happen. They saw Dubova's favoritism for Usova and Julin. They saw Klimova
So
and Ponomarenko
they're
leave.
paranoid. They
Yeah.
think it's
It's
going
a
to happen to
trauma
them.
They're
response,
absolutely
yeah.
paranoid.
Yes.
And they also saw what happened to Klimova and Ponomarenko when they left. They went to Tarasova and they like were,
Yeah.
were
So
did
they're
amazing.
like, we're
Yeah.
going to leave and do that.
So at the end of 1996, Grishuk and Platov leave Linichuk and go to Tarasova. Like a month and a half later, they debut at Europeans. They haven't competed all season. And they have this free dance that is stunning. And it's set to this piece of music, The Feeling Begins by Peter Gabriel, which we've all heard. And they have kind of like, it's not even Middle Eastern, it's like almost Indian theme in their choreography. Grishuk at this point has had a bit of a makeover. I think she's been watching a lot of MTV. Like, she's really enjoying. She's
loving cable,
she has
American
cable.
cable.
She's living
watching,
in Marlborough, Massachusetts.
She's watching Basic Instinct and like No Doubt videos, and she has bleached blonde hair and a bindi. And this program was
so Gwen Stefani.
Yes, this program was so unbelievably complicated and athletic, and they made it look so easy, and it had all of these really dynamic like angles in it and lift positions. And there's like a lift at the very end where Platov is like holding Grishuk by her shoulder and her one foot, and he kind of like wraps her around like you would like flip a towel around, but it looks good. And it's like, how did you do that? It's incredible. This program is so shocking at Europeans. They win easily, but it makes all these waves and it gets all this attention. And it's like, wow, Grishuk and Platov are back. They have this stunning program. They're just like, they're going to stay on top.
And Tatiana Tarasova is at it again.
Yes.
Breathing new life.
But again, they were only with her a little while before this Europeans. So Natalia Linichuk very aptly points out amid all this press, I choreographed that program.
Oh. Good for her.
Yeah. And Grishuk and Platov are like, no, you didn't. This
What?
is us.
They tried not to give her credit?
Completely. And the other thing is that in Russia, when you have a coach, you can only change your coach at a certain time of the year. And the coach basically gets half of your winnings. So because Grishuk and Platov left Linichuk mid-season, she wanted them to pay her half of their winnings. And they didn't. So she like threatened to sue them. And it was...
Is this a rule of the Federation or just a custom?
It's a Federation thing.
Sue them in what, American court?
I assume so. Or maybe a Russian court. I don't know if they still had courts after
The court of
Soviet
public
Union fell.
opinion.
Yeah. I didn't know if we were going to like the Supreme Court of Marlborough, Massachusetts.
Yeah. So Grishuk and Platov then go to Worlds. They skate really well at Worlds. Not quite as well as they did at Europeans, but they still skate quite well, make quite an impression, and they win their third world title. Fourth.
Okay.
No, 94, 95, 96. No, fourth. Fourth world
Okay.
title. Yeah. So, and this is actually going to be their last world title. So,
Dun, dun, dun.
Little
and
do
again-
they know.
And again, the podium is exactly the same as the year before. Grishuk and Platov win. Krylova and Ovsyannikov are second, and Born and Kratz are third.
Okay.
So
And
what
we
I-
didn't say this, but obviously Shaylin Bourne is the choreographer.
choreographer to the stars.
Yes. Becomes later. Yes. Still is.
Yeah. And Born and Kratz were a really exceptional team. They had a very unique style that was all their own, and you will never guess who was coaching them back then.
I probably won't.
Natalia Dubova.
What?
Oh,
Wait, I had no idea. I just figured it was like,
Michelle, are you making this
Mary
up?
and Joe beer
I'm
can
not.
from Toronto. That's what I was thinking. Dubova?
Yes. Now, if you watch performances from Born and Kratz, you will see Dubova, who was previously brunette, with a blonde hairdo and a very large Canadian jacket on, at the boards with them. And
She
it's
was
kind of
watching
like
a lot of MTV too.
In
was.
a bindi.
She was. Yeah. And, Dubova, I think she really she loved them a lot, probably not as much as she loved Maya Usova, but she cared a lot about them. She was trying to politic Born and Kratz like crazy. She was basically like, they should win the Olympics. They're incredible.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get more into that in a minute. So I want to talk a little bit more about Oksana Grishuk.
Please. There's not enough time.
Like I said, Oksana Grishuk, she was finding herself. She was feeling herself. She had gotten her ultimate revenge on Julin. She had won multiple world titles and Olympic titles. She was on TV all the time. But she was so annoyed that despite being on television all the time, winning all these things, doing all these shows, she lived in the U.S. and people thought she was another Oksana. They thought she was Oksana Bayul.
And there's no fate worse,
Yeah.
according to
And then
her.
thinking you're another Oksana.
Yeah. And she said, I don't want to be Oksana anymore because so many people confuse me with Oksana Bayul, the bad Oksana, the criminal Oksana. She is a fat has-been.
Oksana.
I'm
found
sorry,
this
I
quote.
almost fell out of my chair just now, and I made Adam's dog Tony jump up from his sleep.
Wake up.
Again, this is allegedly, I found this quote from Grishuk. I don't have a video of her saying it. So allegedly she said this. She may have said it in Russian and that could be the translation, but that's basically what she said.
Okay, and Michelle, please remind everyone who Oksana Bayul is.
So Oksana Bayul is a Ukrainian orphan who won the
I'm sorry. You mean fat has been?
She won the 1994 Olympic title, beating Nancy Kerrigan
in women's
in the
singles,
women's singles
yes.
event. And after that, she had a pretty successful professional career. She also had a DUI, and I think she had to do community service for it or something.
She's a criminal.
And Oksana Grishuk started calling her a criminal. And full on called multiple times she became a criminal. And Oksana Grishuk was just annoyed that people were confusing her with Baiul.
Because she was the more successful Oksana in her... Well, she was. On paper, she was.
She absolutely was.
She had 4 world titles at this point.
And an Olympic title. Yeah.
Yeah.
She had her
and
affair
she had
partners.
Alexander Zulin's wedding ring.
Yeah. And the Olympic gold medal that was supposed to be his
Sorry,
in her pocket.
That's criminal.
And also, wait,
as well.
what year is it that she's saying this?
This is
97.
So Oksana's medal is still warm.
Yeah.
From the ceremony at this point.
And again, like, skating is really popular in the US. Professional skating is on TV all the time. And
Yes.
Baiul is like doing all kinds of shows.
Right.
So, I mean, there are 2 Oksanas in America doing skating, basically. It's
Yeah.
a problem.
It's not surprising that Americans would confuse them.
No.
Yeah. So in September of 1997, Oksana Grishuk announced to the world that she was changing her name. And she changed her name to Pasha.
It's so good. It's so good.
She said, quote, "I legally changed my first name to Pasha. If you are going to have a name for the rest of your life, it should reflect your personality. I am passionate about life, about skating, and about Hollywood."
Those are my
Those mean
3
same.
favorite things.
So again, Pasha, Oksana Grishuk, is watching a lot of American television and movies. And she has really these aspirations to go on to a Hollywood career after her skating career. And again, she's on TV all the time. She's doing competitions, she's doing shows. She's got a lot of exposure and she likes it and she likes the attention. At the time, there also were a lot of stories about Oksana Grishuk's off-ice behavior. And these stories from 94 on, especially once the teams moved to Delaware, they were just circulating around in skating from other people. It was just, there were a lot of stories about her. There were stories about her fighting with her training mates. There were stories about her basically bullying Born and Kratz on the Grand Prix, all kinds of things. It was a frequent topic of conversation that her behavior was bizarre and somewhat aggressive. There was a story that she and Nicole Bobek had a conflict over a tour promoter, and they were both interested in him, and that Grishuk claims that Nicole Bobek slapped her.
Well, she's taking a lot of blunt trauma to the head.
Yeah, she's been slapped more than once today.
Yes.
I mean, if I had a nickel,
Today.
I'd only have 2, but it's still more than you'd think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question about, was she called Pasha before she changed her name?
No, she made it up.
Okay. So
She
this
made
was
it
a
up.
new identity.
Justine, of
And-
course not.
Did she make it up to be short for passionate?
It's possible.
Like when she's saying, "These are my passions"?
It's possible.
Okay.
Pasha, I think, is typically a men's nickname in Russian, but she chose it for herself. And like when she told Platov she was taking this name, he basically like laughed her and he like, "Are you kidding?" Anyway,
These
Platov
two,
is
they hate dancing.
Yeah, Platov is like not having a good time at this point. I mean, he's going through the partnership. His knees are given out, but he is just working as hard as he can because he wants another Olympic gold medal.
Okay.
So
And just sort of putting up with the sideshow of
Yes.
his partner at this point.
Yes. And I have to say, for all of the chaos Oksana Grishuk created off the ice, she also brought it onto the ice. She was an absolutely magnetic performer. I mean, like, amazing. I mean, I would say it's like you kind of talk about Plushenko having that like magnetism when he skates, like you can't take your eyes off of him. It's just like, oh my gosh, she was so present and so like looking camp right in the eye. So in that season, 97-98, remember that Grishuk and Platov are with Tarasova. They're trying to get their second Olympic title. First time ever that an ice dance team is going to repeat if they win. Torvill and Dean tried. Didn't happen, but Grishuk is trying to get back to back. Krylova and Ovsyannikov, they're skating really well, and they are training still with Natalia Linichuk. And they have this Carmen program that is just incredibly dramatic. It has all of these big separations in it that are very like attention getting and just really cool. Those two are the two that are really in contention for the Olympic title. It seems like based on the way the season is going, like Grishuk and Platov probably have it in the bag, but I think a lot of people tried to, especially American television and CBS and Tracy Wilson, tried to point out the fact that a lot of the skating that Grishuk and Platov were doing was not as technically like as much dance. There wasn't as much dance in it as what Krylova and Ovsyannikov were doing, and that they were it was very flashy. Their free dance in the Gorshkov-Platov's free dance in the 97-98 season was a memorial requiem by Michael Nyman, which is a very intense piece of music. This one skating journalist called it an intense, relentless, abstract free dance.
Okay.
It was very intense. Going into leading up to the Olympics, they had all these clashes with Krylova and Ovsyannikov. At Europeans, they collided in practice twice. And both times, Gorshkov and Platov sustained injuries. Platov said they're trying to kill us because we're winning so many times.
That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah.
I love the great battle between Newark, Delaware, and Marlborough, Massachusetts.
The two
Yeah.
great Russian cities.
Yes.
Yeah. So then the third medal that is available, because it seems like the Russians have the top two lined up, is bronze. And Born and Kratz, the Canadian team, they seemed primed for bronze. They were bronze. They were third at the last two World Championships. And this season, they have a free dance that is like, I would compare it to Olivia Smart and Tim Deek's free dance this season. This is a free dance like not many people are going to beat it. And it is river dance.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes
Okay.
it's hard to beat.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And this program is so cool. They do like Irish dancing on the ice. They do their signature move, which is hydroblading. It's a really interesting, unique, and very appealing program that plays really well in a crowd. It's just, it does really well. This is like a North American team, and we haven't had a North American team on the dance podium since Tracy Wilson and Rob McCall.
Mm-hmm.
And so the rest of Europe and Russia are like, I don't think so. I'm not cool with that. Allegedly. So there's another team, a team from France, and their names are Marina Anasina and Gwendal Pezarat. Marina Anasina is Russian. She and her former partner Ilya Averbuk won 2 World Junior titles for Russia.
I just feel like every time you've opened your mouth when you're like a team named, I'm like seeing ghosts.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
So they were a very promising junior team. They were really, both of them, standout skaters. But Ilya Averbuk, he fell in love with this other ice dancer named Irina Lobachova. And she was not as good of a skater as Marina Anasina. Sorry, she wasn't. But he was so in love with her. He's like, I have to skate with her. She's the love of my life. We have to skate together. So he breaks up with Anasina. She can't really find a partner in Russia. She sends letters to 2 male skaters that she knows from like the Junior Grand Prix. And they are Victor Kratz and Gwendal Pezarat.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
That's so crazy. It was like they were partnered through letters.
Yes.
Yes.
To think about that, you know?
So at that point, when she sent the letters, Victor Kratz had already teamed up with Shaylin, and he was like, I'm not going to respond. But Gwendal, he held on to his letter. He was with another partner, but they split. So then he like responded to her and was like, okay, let's skate together. He was not willing to move to Russia. So she came to France. So you have a Russian skater, Soviet-trained Russian skater, living in France, training with Gwendal, representing France. And they were coached by Muriel Boucher-Zazouis. So,
Oh, that rolls right off the top.
Yeah.
That is such a beautiful name.
no. So Anasina and Pezarat, they've been on the rise for a while. They have this like dramatic, romantic look, sort of like Klimova and Ponomarenko did. Anasina has this like long, red, curly hair that she sort of wears down, and they skate that they have a Romeo and Juliet program. And then Gwendal has like long, curly, blonde hair that he wears down, and they just do this.
He looks like Fabio.
Yes, basically. And their program is just, it's kind of this traditional romantic like look that is a judge's love. And it was very in at the time. You know, it was a very like refreshing alternative to like the hate skating of Gorshkov Platov and then the very intense Carmen of Krylova and Ovsyannikov. And it was very palatable. So basically, in that season leading up, I think Anasina and Pezarat beat Born and Kratz maybe once, but it still seems like Born and Kratz like she should be on the podium. And Dubova is running her mouth about them. She's not saying
I love Dubova. Sorry. She is winning me over.
She's not saying they should be bronze. She's like, they deserve to win. They will be Olympic champions.
Oh, I love it.
They
But you know
deserve
what? That seems to be the kiss of death.
Yeah.
When
Well,
she thinks that you should be the Olympic
honestly,
champion.
You won't be.
That's an interesting observation because it's very true. And she is trash talking Gorshkov and Platov. She's like, I taught them everything and they let it all go and they're not doing any of it anymore. She said, what she said about Gorshkov and Platov is that they have all these skills I taught them and they can do so much more. But what they have now is just a funny program.
Not a funny program.
Yeah. And Gorshkov and Platov are like annoyed that this is happening. Pasha Gorshkov is very upset. She has her aunt attend a press conference where Born and Kratz are there doing press. And her aunt confronts them and says that their rock and roll original dance set to the Beatles is not rock and roll enough, and it's not a good program.
She
Her
sends
aunt?
her aunt
Her
to tell
aunt.
them that?
Yeah, in front of a bunch of people at a press conference. And Born and Kratz are actually like really upset. Victor Kratz is giving quotes like, I was like very offended that this happened. And then Oksana Grishuk claims that like she doesn't even know this, or she hasn't seen her aunt 3 years.
You
and
mean
she doesn't know why
Pasha.
she did it. Pasha. Yeah.
Excuse you.
So
Well,
anyway.
Pasha hasn't seen her aunt. Oksana saw her aunt quite recently.
So we're heading into Nagano 1998
Yes.
Olympics in Japan. So going into this Olympics, a Canadian dance judge goes to Born and Kratz and is like, listen, I heard that a deal was made and you are going to be 5th in the first compulsory dance, 4th in the next one, 4th in the original dance, so that if you're 3rd in the free dance, you won't medal. And Born and Kratz are like, whatever, like, I'm not listening to this. We're just going to keep training. You know, typical, like, very optimistic, like, you sweet summer child, you know. They didn't want to listen. They didn't want to hear it. They don't want to hear that this is happening. And so they just go on their merry way. They get to Nagano, and in the first compulsory dance, they're 5th. And they finished 5th behind the 3 teams that I said were podium contenders and
Yes.
Lobachova and Averbuch, who's like an up-and-coming Russian team. I'm like, really? You know. And at that point, they're very upset. Like, they think, was he right? Is this real? Is this really happening? I don't know if they went directly to CBS, if they went directly to Tracy Wilson, but basically they shared this story that they had heard. So CBS and Tracy Wilson start covering this drama very aggressively. And they follow very closely the scoring of Punslin and Swallow, the American team, who are coached by a young Russian coach named Igor Spielban at these Olympics.
Oh my God. Keep going.
And Born and Kratz. And Tracy Wilson goes in detail looking at how they're scored in each segment and calling out the judges on the panel that are basically, there's 5 judges on a panel of 9 that are forming a block. And this becomes known as block judging. And basically, these judges figured out that if you have a majority, you can control the result by voting with the block. The dance coverage in Nagano was heavy on this expose. Every single event, they talked about it. They showed the judges before the event, and the judges were the Czech Republic, or Czechia now, France, Italy, Russia, and Ukraine. Those 5. And basically, the event played out exactly as Born and Kratz were told it would. And Tracy basically predicted on CBS that it would, because Born and Kratz were 5th, and then they were 4th and 4th. So going into the free dance, they're at 4th place. But if they want a medal,
They have to get at least second.
and they have to beat one of the Russian teams. And it's like,
Which they're
That's
not
not
going to
gonna
do.
happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they do their river dance, and it is phenomenal. It's great. The crowd loves it. The Japanese audience loves the river dance music. They skate really well. They're 3rd in the free dance, and they're 4th. No medal. Anasina and Pezrat, meanwhile, they skate their Romeo and Juliet program really beautifully. It was really, really nice. They're 4th in the segment, but they get the medal.
Wow.
Yeah.
And they, I'm sure, were like mad too, because
Yeah.
it makes their bronze look less legitimate.
Definitely. So
Wow.
then, to get to the top 2, at these Olympics, CBS filmed a feature, which is like TV, what we call, and it's known like colloquially among skating fans as a fluff piece. They filmed a feature with Oksana Grishuk, Pasha Grishuk, basically talking about her name change, her kind of feelings about Oksana Bayul, and her desire to become a Hollywood star. And they call it the Tale of 2 Oksanas, after a People magazine piece, which basically coined that term and compared in detail Oksana Bayul and Oksana Grishuk, and in ways in which Oksana Grishuk was sort of copying Bayul, kind of skating to The Feeling Begins after Bayul skated to it, and kind of copying her look and copying her laugh and her hairstyle. And they run this
So
piece.
they're being like, everyone's confusing you for the other Oksana because you're acting like her.
Yeah.
And you're actively doing
You're a
things
criminal.
like her.
You're has been.
Yeah. Yeah. And they really highlighted in their Olympic coverage Pasha Grishuk's kind of very intense behavior. But nonetheless, Grishuk and Platov go out in Nagano and they skate the shit out of their programs. They win every segment of that competition. And they skate their Memorial Requiem free dance with just unbelievable intensity. When you watch it, it's just like, it's so aggressive and fierce. And they skate it with like so much power. It's like really reached out and took it. Like, this is our Olympic title. We're taking it. Krylov, Sianikov, second across the board. They get the silver medal. So after the Olympics and after Grishik and Platov become the first team ever to repeat as Olympic champions, and to date they're the only ones that have done that back to back, they retire. They don't go to Worlds, and they go on a tour like Champions on Ice. And at the end of the tour, Evgeny Platov at this point is like, I'm done. And he tells Oksana Pasha Grishuk, I don't want to skate with you anymore. I'm going to go to Hollywood, do whatever you want. I'm finished. Oh, and the other thing I forgot to mention.
And my knees are finished as well.
The other thing I forgot to mention is, I don't know if it was either on the podium or right after the podium in Nagano. Platov claims Grishuk said to him, this was 20% you and 80% me.
Whoa.
And he was like, all right, great. Thanks.
Okay.
Whatever.
He
He's
seems
like-
pretty even keeled.
Yeah.
To put
Through
up
this.
with all this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way,
Yeah.
it's correct that in Nagano, Tatiana Tarasova coached the Olympic champion in the men's event and in the dance event.
Correct.
Okay, because Ilya Kulik won.
Yes. And one amazing thing that CBS also did in their coverage is they mic'd Tarasova. So if you watch the video,
She's the original Mike Me Up.
if you watch the video of Grishik and Platov's free dance, she has a like meltdown at the end of it. She's like, screaming, and they roll her in. It was great.
Good.
So Tarasova's like really cleaned up well. She's coached Bestemianova Bukin to an Olympic gold medal, Klimova Ponomarenko to an Olympic gold medal, Grishik and Platov to their second Olympic gold medal, and Ilya Kulik. So she's got 4 at this point, and she's still got Yagudin to come.
Wow.
Mhm. That's crazy.
Yeah. So basically, Platov's done. He's had enough. He breaks up with Grishuk, but he wants to make money and do professional skating.
Right. I was just going to ask, like, this must mean he needs to do something else.
He calls his friend Maya Usova and says, hey, do you want to skate together?
Oh my God.
Platov, you dirty dog.
No, honestly, it was seen as Maya Usova saw this as the most chivalrous, kind thing. She was so incredibly grateful to him. Because all this time she's been working, trying to make money, skating with her ex-husband.
Yeah,
who broke
and
her
she's
heart,
miserable.
And
Yeah.
she's so miserable. So she teams up with Platov. Usova, Platov.
That's nice.
And they're coached by Tatiana Tarasova. Tarasova said some mean things in her book. She said that Usova was such a heavy smoker and had been out of competitive skating for so long, just doing professional skating, that she was really out of shape, whereas Platov was in really good shape because he just won another Olympics. And so their programs were really built around lifts. He did a lot of carry lifts with her. Ironically, that's kind of what made their professional skating partnership so good. Usov had these glorious balletic lines, and they do these really long lifts. And like pro skating, like there's no rules. You just do whatever you want.
Right.
It was gorgeous. So Oksana Grishuk, thought she was Pasha Grishuk, thought she was going to Hollywood and, was going to do this, but doesn't really materialize at first. And she needs to make money too. She's just like, what am I going to do? So she and Julin team up.
Oh my God. I was like, there's no way that this is going to go the way that I think it goes.
Yeah.
It does. It did.
Yeah. And so we have Pasha and Sasha. Sasha, short for Alexander.
Yes.
Pasha and Sasha versus Usova Platov.
Versus their exes.
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
the- and, like-
Platov's not a romantic ex.
No,
but
he's
yeah,
been through some drama.
It counts.
And we're talking about
Spiritual.
we're talking about like now they're versus each other in the world pro circuit.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. At the 1998
My God.
World Professional Championships, these two teams face off.
Oh
And
my God. I want a
finally-
ticket. I want a ticket.
I mean, this was primetime television in the United States. And not only were they skating against each other, they were doing interviews talking about the affair and the drama they've been through. And Usova talking about how miserable she was with Julin and how grateful she was to Platov. And just, they went into it. They talked about it. But at the World Professional Championships in 1998, Usova Platov win. And they beat Pasha and Sasha.
wow.
And then they go to Spago to celebrate.
And they smash another teenage girl's head against the bar.
Wow, the ultimate revenge. I
Yeah.
mean, it's maybe not the ultimate revenge. Like, it's not an Olympic title, but God, that
Yeah.
must have felt good.
No, it is delicious.
It's
It's
yeah,
incredible.
really good.
Each of these partnerships carry on just for a couple years. I think Usova and Platov do like 3 years together, 3 professional seasons. And I think Pasha and Sasha did like maybe 2. I want to mention Pasha and Sasha also, they cashed in on their drama. 2 of the programs they skated were Unbreak My Heart and Smooth Operator.
I love them.
And they happily did lots of interviews about, their past drama, making money off of their drama, like Bravo stars.
Julin will happily give an interview now if we
Nolan
call him.
is Tom Sandoval.
Yeah.
The original.
Yeah.
Wow.
I feel like what this is showing, Michelle, is one thing that is showing is just how much like media coverage skating got.
Totally.
Like in the 90s.
Totally.
You know, like the People story, New York Times.
I have one more really sad thing to share about Maya Usova. She said in an interview maybe like 10 years later that Julien was somewhat abusive to her during their partnership. And they're like the 18 years together, that she was always kind of like, when she made a mistake, she would always kind of like cower, expecting like something. And that it was such a relief to skate with Platov because she could be bad and make mistakes, and he was always kind to her.
Platov is really the hero of this story.
Yeah.
And he was sort of in the background a lot
Yeah.
of the time.
Yeah.
That is very sad.
Yeah. So I want to give you a couple updates on what happened to all of these people after this drama transpired, after their professional careers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maya Usova, she coached a little bit with Tarasova, and then she married a guy he's a surgeon. He's like a medical professor in Russia. She had a daughter, and she's become an advocate for smokers' rights.
Excuse me?
What are those?
Like, people should be able to smoke inside.
How do you become an advocate for smokers' rights? I'm gonna cry. Wait. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, she lived in the U.S. for a long time and probably had to deal with, in the U.S., very strict.
Smokers left.
And I don't
Smokers
think
wrong.
she wanted to see something similar happen in Russia, you know. She was in a couple of Marlboro campaigns in Russia.
Oh my God! From Marlboro, Massachusetts
To Marlboro
Marlboro's
factory.
rights.
Wait, smokers. She became an advocate for smokers' rights.
I'm sorry, Maya Usova.
This is
It's just really funny.
that is one of the craziest things I've ever heard out loud. Okay.
Oh my God, I'm crying.
Yeah. Yeah. So Pasha Grishuk, she
Wait, this was like an update on their life. It's just an advocate for smokers' rights.
This is like you get to the end of the movie and there's like the sentences that appear on the screen about what happened after.
Oh my, nothing.
And it's she became an advocate for smokers' rights.
Nothing would have prepared me for you telling me that. Who else was an advocate for smokers' rights? Lucille Ball.
yeah, yes, probably. Not Pasha Grishuk. Pasha Grishuk eventually changed her name back to Oksana. She did not achieve the Hollywood career that she dreamed of, but she's done some coaching and training. And honestly, she's the winner in all of this because she lives in Orange County and has this very magical life down there. And if you follow her on Instagram, she's always posting like, you know, pictures of her like frolicking on the beach and being so happy. And she also had a daughter, and her daughter is very successful. She's on like the Princeton tennis team or something.
Wow.
Oh.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. Both Platov and Julien went into coaching. Platov, I believe, is in Florida now. He works with Isabeau a little bit, but he's not really coaching any teams at a high level anymore. But he had like the Cares. He coached them for a while, and he worked with Novka and Kostomarov some. Julien, actually, I won't say much about him because he'll come up later, but he is a very, very successful coach. And, you know, despite all the personal drama that he had in the 90s, he came out of it with a really impressive coaching career. And I think
more
he's-
personal drama.
I think his
Right.
students have a lot of respect for him, and yeah, he's done pretty well for himself. Unfortunately, he does answer the phone and say some crazy things once in a while.
He waits by the phone. He picks up the phone.
Yeah.
He calls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say his willingness to give a quote extends beyond the Russian media. He is always very willing to talk to us at events. He is just very generous with his comments. Doesn't tend to say the same crazy things to the North American media that he says to the Russian media, but
No,
But
he-
still, it's nice to have an open book around a
Totally.
skating event.
I was
Totally.
just gonna say that you know he says some crazy things, but it is nice when somebody gives their unfiltered opinion because it makes everything more interesting.
Yeah. I mean, in Beijing a couple of years ago, the Russian team was like on lockdown. No media. They were not talking to us.
Oh,
Their
yeah.
coaches
I
were not
remember
talking.
this.
They were talking. Full stop. We asked a volunteer to ask for Julien because we just made a guess that he'd come out. He came out and talked to us for a long time. He told us about Sinitina Katsalapov. He told us about Nikita's back injury, his thoughts on the team event. He was great. He was just so generous with that. And it was just, I don't know. I had a lot of respect for him doing that.
My favorite quote from the Beijing Olympics was him going, "When we found out that there was a positive test, we knew it could have been anybody."
Yes, that was what I thought you were leading up to, Michelle.
He did
was
say that.
him giving that quote where it was like,
It
"What do you
could've-
mean it
yep.
could have been anybody?"
Excuse me. Are you advocating for smokers' rights?
Even he.
Oh
wouldn't
my
be doing that.
god! Wow, is that the last? Was that the last chapter?
That
Did
was
that
not.
chapter?
I have one more very short chapter.
Okay, I thought that chapter was called Smokers' Rights. Keep going. I'm calling
So-
that mini chapter 3A.
Yeah.
Smokers'
So
Rights.
I want to say from 1998 on, this was the beginning of the end for Russia's dance dynasty.
Okay.
So Krylov and Ovsyannikov, they win 1998 and 1999 Worlds. Anasina and Pezrot are second at both events, and Born and Kratz, remember them, they're third.
Okay.
Krylov and Ovsyannikov seem like primed to dominate the next Olympic quad. Like they are just so far ahead of everyone else. They have this program in 99 set to music but with like African drum music that was just cool and so difficult, and they made it look just amazing. It was great. However, Angelika Krylova was struggling with a back injury the last couple seasons, and her doctors basically told her, "You have a risk of paralysis because of how severe your injury is. You need to stop competing." So she basically retires from competition, and she tells Oleg Ovsyannikov, "You need to find another partner. You're too good to retire now." And he's like, "I won't. I will only skate with you."
Wow.
Yeah. I know they had a nice relationship. So eventually, like, she takes some time off, and then they return and they do some professional skating. They win like World Pro. The next like couple years and couple cycles, there are Russian skaters on the Olympic podium and in the mix. However, all of these skaters came from the Soviet system. Once the Soviet Union fell apart and dissolved in 1991, all the funding and all of the support that went into these developing this like never-ending stream of amazing Russian ice dancers kind of dried up. I mean, the last several Olympics, like starting from the very first Olympics all the way up through 98, there were 2 Russian teams on the podium every single time.
Wow.
And in 98, you had 5 Russian skaters and 3 teams because Anasina was Russian. Because of issues in Russia with like food scarcity and like housing security, and just so many skaters came to the US, and the coaches, all of the Russian coaches came to the US for a really long time. And we'll talk about later how they ended up going back. But in the 90s, it was kind of like all these teams that were amateur, they were able to make a lot of money and live in the US because of how popular skating was. And also, ABC Sports had a multi-million dollar contract with the ISU for the TV rights, American TV rights for these things. And the contract said 50% of the money we pay you has to go to athletes. So the prize money for these events was like very high.
Wow.
Like $150,000 to win worlds or something, which sounds like nothing compared to like golf, but compared to what you make today, it was awesome.
No, it sounds like a lot
Yeah.
to me. I mean, for what it is,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you saw skaters from the Soviet system competing for a really long time. They had really long careers, but there wasn't really many coming up behind them. And it was kind of hard for a while for Russia to sort of develop that level of dominance in their dance program again. And I would argue they're not even there yet. They've put some strong teams together, but it's still not back to what it was. That was the last Olympics, 98, with the 2 Russian teams. And from there on out, we're heading into 2002. And I also want to point out that ice dance, despite its like growing popularity and the amazing success of Torvill and Dean, television is starting to help viewers ask questions about scoring. And this will all come to a head in Salt Lake City.
Good tease.
What a perfect way to end the first part of the dance lore.
Oh my God, Michelle. I feel like I've
You've
like,
outdone
been-
yourself.
I have been on a winding journey on this episode. Thank you.
Thank you for going on it with me.
Wow.
Thank you for taking us to school, Michelle.
Yeah. School is out of session. Michelle, thank you so much. And we can't wait to hear what you have to say in part 2.
Ugh.
Wow.
Dance lore.
I better get to work.
You better get to work. Smokers' rights.
That's my next career.
And with that,
We'll see you in part 2.
thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.